Yunta Chow is suing gun shop owner David Liu for the refund of a firearm.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Kevin.
Case number 1149, Chow versus Liu.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chow, what jurisdiction do you come from?
I don't understand.
What state do you come from?
Oh, California.
How long have you lived here?
I lived here all my life, 35 years.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm currently unemployed, but before that, I was in human resources.
For how long?
For 2 years.
Your complaint is a simple one. You felt, according to you, the need to have a firearm for protection.
That's correct.
Was this the first time you had felt the need for a firearm?
Yes, Your Honor. Especially during earlier this year and last year, due to Asian hate crimes, I felt like not safe to the point. I didn't know if they were going to rob me at my car or if they were going to burglarize my house. So I felt the need.
What kind of premises do you live in?
I live in an apartment complex.
Had you in the past been threatened?
No, only.
No.
No.
The defendant owns a gun shop.
Yes, Your Honor.
In California.
Correct.
How long have you owned that shop, Mr. Liu?
6 years.
Is it close by to where you live?
Correct.
You went to Mr. Liu's shop to purchase a gun. What kind of a gun did you want?
I tried to purchase a handgun, which is a 9mm.
You wanted a 9mm gun. Had you had any training with a gun? And you had never applied for a gun permit before?
Correct.
But according to what I read in your complaint, 13 years ago, while you were in your 20s,
Correct.
Early 20s, you had had either an arrest or a conviction for something. Was it gun-related?
No, Your Honor.
Did you ever go to prison?
No, I wouldn't say prison. I went to another form of imprisonment. I forgot. It was like county. I'm not too sure. It was to the point where everyone that committed a crime was like together in a grouping of a household.
Like a halfway house?
Somewhat like that.
Could you leave the house?
No, you only could leave to do your work premises that was supervised by the
off premises or
yes,
on
off premises.
Off premises.
Correct.
Okay. Was that part of your sentence? Was that your sentence?
No, that was just a part of just earning good time so I could be released early.
So you were never in prison?
Not in prison in that sense to the point where I was locked down like 24/7 or anything of that nature, no.
Okay, and how long did you have to remain in that kind of facility?
I only stayed there close to 3 months, and then I was released.
Was it a drug-related crime?
No.
Since that time, 13 years ago, have you ever been arrested again?
No.
Was that the first time you had been arrested?
Correct.
So that was the first and only time you...
The first and only time as a young adult, yes. Prior to that, during my younger years, of course, I was hanging around the wrong crowd because I lived originally from Oakland, California. It's a really rough neighborhood during that time. I associated myself with the wrong crowd, which from there...
So you were arrested as a juvenile?
Yes, correct.
And this was the first arrest and conviction as an adult?
Correct.
What date did you go in to seek to purchase a weapon?
It was on May 21st of 2021.
And as part of that process, you have to fill out paperwork?
Yes.
Would you explain the paperwork process to me, Mr. Liu?
Okay, for California resident, if you need to buy a firearm, first of all, you have to take a firearm safety certificate test, which is...
Okay. Did he have that test?
Yes.
So you had a certificate to show him?
Correct.
So you had taken some training?
No, I took it that same very day because initially that's what he was part of the process of purchasing a firearm.
So where did you go to take the test?
At the same location, at his shop.
So you showed him how to use it and gave him the certificate?
I don't have to show him how to use the gun, but it's his responsibility to know how to use the firearm.
Well, what is the certificate is what I'm asking you.
The certificate contains like 30 questions, including basic firearm laws.
No, do you have a copy of it?
No, Your Honor.
Do you have a copy of it? I'd like to see it. Learning something.
Something new every day.
Well, this is a dealer record of sale of firearm. What is the certificate we're talking about that he has to fill out?
The test come up with 30 questions, 10 true and false, 20 multiple choice.
Well, I'd like to see the copy of the test.
I don't have the test, Your Honor, because he didn't ask me to refund him the test.
Just a second. Sarah, can you look up test for firearm, a certificate, and that's required by the state of California?
Firearm safety certificate.
firearm safety certificate. Just curious what it looks like. So he filled out the form. He got the certificate from you. He filled out the form in front of you. And then you have to fill out another form.
After he took the test, he passed the test,
What kind of test did he have to pass?
the firearm safety certificate.
Did you study before you went?
No, I just had knowledge of just a firearm in general. It was just a lot of common sense questions that you have in regards to California law.
I have the test here.
Could I take a look at it, sir?
So this is a 50-page study guide for the test, and this is a self-test example of what the test is.
Thank you. You know I'm going to lose this whole thing.
No, you've got it. Just, it's touchscreen.
A safe practice when handling it. Let's turn to page 4. Know your target. As a safety measure, you should always be pointed to the north, to the safest possible, up and down. One of the safety rules to know is how to properly clear a malfunction. Turn to page 5.
So there's a bunch of lists of different topics that you should study for before the test, and then on this document, there's a few practice questions. The test would just be those few questions in the beginning. It would be, like he said, 20 multiple choice and 10 true false.
Thank you.
Chow claims gun shop owner David Liu owes him a refund after purchasing a gun he never received.
Okay, just curious, Mr. Chow. Did you fill out the answers to these questions?
Yes, I did.
Did the defendant help you?
No.
How long did it take you to fill out the form?
It took about maybe 20 minutes or so.
And after you filled out that form, then there is this
Correct.
document, because he has to be approved by the Department of Justice. Is that
Yes, Your
right?
Honor.
Okay. Well, this is the purchaser's record of sale of firearm, and it says, has the purchaser ever been convicted of a felony or an offense as defined in the Penal Code in the last 10 years? Based upon Mr. Chow, his conviction was 13 years ago. Is that right? So he answered the question, no. And you purchased the gun.
Correct.
But you did not give him the gun until after you got an approval from the Department of Justice.
Correct.
And so that was May 21st.
Correct.
How long did Mr. Liu, based upon your business of experience of 6 years, does it usually take to hear back from the Department of Justice?
Usually it would take about 2 to 4 days, depends on how busy they are, to get back to me.
Okay. And this
Only
is
when they get denied, reject, or some other reason. Otherwise, after 10 days, the owner can come and pick up the firearm. So you have at least 10 days for the Department of Justice to do the background check.
Okay.
Yep. And during the pandemic, sometimes delayed it to 14 days.
Of course.
But if the purchaser is denied, reject, or something, usually that will come electronically,
Okay.
much faster.
In Mr. Chow's case, did you receive notification from the Department of Justice?
Yes.
Okay. He came and he paid you for the gun. How much did you pay him for the gun?
I paid with tax and other fees. In total, it will be $1,370. I have the invoice here as well, too.
Okay. He doesn't dispute the amount. And when you heard back from the Department of Justice, on what date did you hear from the Department of Justice?
I got the notice on May 28th.
And do you have a copy of that notice?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please.
And this is the electronic version and also the denied.
Thank you. Okay, so you were advised on the 28th, a week later, that the Department of Justice had said do not release the firearm to the purchaser.
Correct.
When did you notify the plaintiff?
On the same day, I sent him a text message.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Did you ask why?
No, I just essentially went directly to a refund from that point on. I didn't ask why as of yet.
Okay, so from the May 28th on, you knew that you could not release the firearm that you were holding for the plaintiff, for which you were paid $1,370.
Correct.
If we were to examine your record, sir, how many weapons did you sell that week?
Really depends.
No.
Okay.
If we were to examine your records from the 25th, 26th, 27th, those 3 days, how many guns would you say you sold? How many a day do you sell?
Well, during the pandemic, it's crazy. I can sell maybe 20 guns a day.
And you hold them.
Correct.
until you get notification.
Correct.
Now, this is the case. You were denied for that. You will have to take that up with the Department of Justice, if you wish. Your case is simple. You have the gun. You know you can't sell it to him. And you have his $1,370. Now, I would like you to explain to me, sir, why you think he's not entitled to his $1,370 back. And explain to this face, very slowly,
Yes.
why somebody who has been in business thinks that for holding on to this gun for 5 days, when he did not lie in his application, because according to this, his conviction was 13 years ago. So unless you have information to the contrary, which I will see, because certainly if he lied on the application, I might feel a little bit sympathetic if you said I could have sold the gun 10 times over, but I held it because he lied on the application. So first, do you have any evidence that he lied on this application? That's either a yes or a no. That's
Yes.
not a well. Yes. What is that evidence?
Because on the FSC, the Firearm Safety Certificate test, there's one question. In California, if you're convicted with a felony, it's for life that you cannot have firearm.
Oh. See if you can find that. But that's not the application that you sent to the Department of Justice.
Yes, and also there's a form he has to fill out for their...
Just a second. But
Yes.
he wasn't denied from the state of California.
He also filled out the form 4473 for the federal government.
Can I see it?
And there's the same question he say no.
May I see it? This is from the U.S. Department of Justice. Did you fill this out, sir?
I think I did. I'm not too sure because I did not receive a copy. The only copy I received was that.
Well, it looks like you filled it out. This is a sort of ambiguous question. It says, have you ever been convicted in any court, including a military court, of a felony or any other crime for which the judge could have imprisoned you for more than 1 year, even if you received a shorter sentence, including probation?
So it is unlawful for any person who's been convicted of or has an outstanding warrant for any felony, as well as there's a list of specific misdemeanors that also prohibit the ownership of a firearm.
Okay. So what your statement is, this application was accurate, and what you indicate is that this application, which goes to the U.S. Department of Justice, he said he had not been, when in fact he had been.
Yes.
Okay. So, Kevin, would you show this to the plaintiff, please? It looks as if, sir, you filled that out.
Okay.
And it's signed by you. I verified the signature.
No, I did mark a no on that.
Okay, got it. Now, sir, so now he marked a no when he should have written a yes for something that happened 13 years ago, for which he was not really in a prison, according to him, sort of a halfway residence where he was able to leave, go to work, outside work, and then come back. And he spent 3 months there. According to him, you have no information to the contrary. And for the last 13 years, he has not had any subsequent convictions. Now you have to explain to me why you think he is not entitled to most, if not all, of his money back.
Okay, because in my shop, there are numerous people with felony or something, and they will try and come to buy firearm. That's why in all our contract, not only in the small print, also in the red print, we explain to them if they get denied in any way, there's no refund.
May I see it, please?
And also at the store, we have signs everywhere to tell people that.
Now, I want to see the...
Okay.
I'm not interested in the signs. I'm interested in something that he signed.
This is just one way
Just
to.
a second.
Okay.
This just says there will be no refund. It doesn't say if you're denied because of
No
something.
refund in any way.
It says no refund in any way. It says firearm has to pay in full. And then there's a crossing out. Upon any cancellation, deny, or revoke, there will be a 30% restocking fee. But that's crossed out.
Yes, because during the pandemic, all the guns are special order. They were so limited, we can't get any gun in.
Yeah,
That's
firearm has to be paid in full.
That's why we have
and
the red
it's
print.
crossed out upon any cancellation, deny, or revoke, there will be a 30% restocking fee. That's crossed out.
That's crossed out
But
before he signed
all
it.
firearms are special order. Well, that's not particularly so in this case. It was not a special order. You had it in the shop.
It was a special order.
No.
Chow has accused gun shop owner David Liu of refusing to refund him for a gun he never received.
Okay. Did you come back more than once, sir?
No.
Okay. So that the gun that he showed you he had in the store.
Correct. He had.
And that is the gun that you purchased.
That is correct.
And that is the gun that you paid for. Did you ask him to modify the gun in any way?
No, I did not.
Did you modify the gun?
No, we
in
cannot
any-
do that. We cannot do that.
Okay, so the gun that you showed Mr. Chow was the gun that he selected. It was not modified in any way. You were holding it pending receipt of this. This came back. He could not purchase the gun. At most, if you hadn't crossed out this section, you would have been entitled to a 30% restocking fee for the gun, but you crossed it out. It's crossed out of your contract. So, Mr. Liu, he's entitled to his money back. Did you resell the gun? I want you to think very carefully. It's got a serial number on it.
Yes.
Just a second. It's got a serial number on it, so it's easy to check.
Yes, I'm being
Did you
very honest to you.
Of
Yes.
course. Did you resell the gun?
Yes.
Yes. And how much did you resell the gun for?
I have to check because the prices was vary because during the
Okay,
pandemic.
just a second. So it was up and down.
Yes.
Some people paid a little more and some people paid a little less.
Right.
So you actually got paid twice for this gun.
Yes.
How much did you pay for the gun?
With add on everything.
No, don't add on anything. Just tell me, how much did you pay for the gun? Your cost?
Your Honor, because the gun during the pandemic is so different.
No, I just asked you, sir.
Distributor make
I
me to buy
asked-
other things to go with the gun.
No,
so
no,
it's-
listen to me.
Yes.
Mr. Liu, I'm a very simple girl, born and raised in Brooklyn, and I'm really not good in math. It's a gene, this math gene is a gene, unfortunately, that I passed on to my children, and they passed on to their children. So I want to ask you a question that's very simple. You sold him this gun for $13.70. You sold it again for around the same price. Let's say you sold it for $1,200. So now we have $2,500 that you have for this gun. I want to know how much you paid for it. You don't have to give me the exact amount.
I paid
Sarah
close
can
to
look it up.
$600. I paid close to $600.
Close to $6.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty substantial amount of profit that you made on that one gun. Even if you sold it to somebody else for $1,200, you would have had a pretty substantial profit on that gun. So you're going to give Mr. Chow his money back because he deserves it back. And you resold the gun and you had no damages from the fact that none whatsoever. It's not as if you got stuck with the gun. And the contract can actually be interpreted in his favor. And I think a reasonable person, and that would be me, because I'm a very reasonable person. Am I a reasonable person, Whitney? Very reasonable. See, Whitney thinks I'm a reasonable person. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,370. We're finished. Thank you.
Court is adjourned.
If there's a convicted felon, he should never even step into a gun shop.
I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. My friend called me up to go pick him up, and because of that, I was convicted.
And he went to a gun shop, tried to buy a gun.
I didn't do research till after I was denied a refund. That's when I actually went through the extensive search of like the history of owning a firearm.
And I'm surprised he will come to gun shop and try to buy a gun.
I'm ecstatic actually for the judgment.
So I actually disagree with you on that last one. I think that people really have to read the contracts that they're signing, and they are bound by those written contracts. And I understand that you interpreted it in a certain way, and that's how you made your decision to give him his refund. But I think that if courts continue to do that and continue to bail people out after they don't read things that they're signing that have legal significance, I think the courts are going to be bogged down with people looking for refunds when they signed something that they were bound by, saying they don't get one.
Okay, it's a perspective. I felt comfortable with giving him his money back because there was a condition precedent upon which he could take possession of the gun. And the condition precedent was approval by the Department of Justice. He couldn't actually take possession of the property. Now, I can understand that if you got possession of the gun, you took it home, you said, you know what, this is too hard. I tried to shoot it, I couldn't shoot it. I want to take it back. Well, I can understand that. No refund. You know, it's like wearing a dress and putting the tag inside, which I've never done, and then bringing it back the next day. But I know people who do that, so that's why it says no refunds. But in this case, the condition precedent, which was getting approval, could not be realized. And I don't think it was through any
Fault of the plaintiff.
Because that section that discussed a felony where you could have been in prison for more than 1 year, well, you don't remember if you've been convicted of one felony as an adult in your whole life, whether a judge could have sentenced you for more than a year, but sentenced you to only 3 months in a different kind of facility, in a halfway house. So I don't.
L'Oreal Foston and Deshaun Johnson are suing their former friend and roommate, Jasmine Stiegel, for unpaid rent, a broken memorial, and vehicle damages.
Court come to order.
Be seated, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 1138, Foster Johnson versus Stigall.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Your last name is?
Foston.
Miss Foston, this young man is your boyfriend. He is the father of a young child that you have.
Yes.
The defendant was a friend of yours. The two of you decided to room together and to get an apartment together.
Correct.
In what month and year?
August of 2020.
Anybody have a copy of that lease?
I do.
I'd like to see it. Case is a relatively simple one. I will outline it. Things didn't work out between at least the two of you, probably the three of you. Thank you. You allege that the defendant breached the lease by moving out. You say the day that she did, in fact, move her things out for the second time, she purposely damaged your car by sideswiping it. And during that same period of time, she broke a vase, some sort of a vase that had sentimental value because it belonged to your boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
Those are the three things that we're here for. And the sentimental value of the vase is really not something that I'm getting involved in. Does he have any other interest in this case? Did he own the car?
Oh, he is co-owner of the car.
He is co-owner of the car. Well, then he can stand there.
And I do have a video.
Okie dokie. Well, this was important. This is important for me to read. So you signed this lease. L'Oreal Faston. Raise your hand.
Boston.
Jasmine Stiegel. Who is that?
Right here.
Those are the two people that are allowed to be in the apartment.
Right.
That's what it says. Lists the name of the residents who will live in the apartment. Where did he come from?
We were staying together. He was going through something legally, and at first we weren't going to move together.
Yada, 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 yada. This lease was signed July 20th, 2020. So you moved in on?
The 9th of August, I believe.
Okay. Did you have a discussion with the plaintiff, your friend, about the boyfriend moving in?
She did say that he was gonna come live with. I didn't know that.
No. Don't tell me what you didn't know. I asked you about a discussion. When you moved in, the landlord didn't know he was going to be there.
Right.
But did you know that he was going to be there?
I knew he was there all along, but I didn't know he was coming with. No, I thought it was just gonna be me and her
Oh,
daughter.
that's my question.
Yes.
So let's just try to not have any attitude here but mine.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah, that's fine.
When the two of you decided to rent this apartment together, did she have a child?
Yes.
How old was that child?
She was, so she was about 8 months.
And you knew who her father was?
I knew of him, but I didn't know him.
But you knew who he was?
I met him like physically, and like I first seen him like when he came to the apartment.
But you had never seen him before?
No.
That's a lie.
So,
Sorry.
Never seen that man before.
if she saw you before, sir, you were forgettable.
With her knowledge.
That didn't require an answer. It was my punchline. Bottom line is, when you moved in, it was your understanding that she was not with him.
Right.
When did he show up?
The day that we were all moving in.
Is that when you first saw him?
Yes.
Now, so that I understand it and believe it, tell me why his name wasn't listed here as a person who was going to be in the apartment. Not an Look at me and explain that to me.
I didn't want him on the lease at the time.
It doesn't say he has to be on the lease. It says he was a person who was going to live in the apartment.
Right. I did tell the management company, or
Don't tell me what you told them. That's hearsay. Is there a reason why his name wasn't listed as a person who was going to be moving in? Listen, Miss Foston, If I were moving into a 2-bedroom apartment, which is what you were moving into, and I had either never met or met once briefly another person who was going to be living there, and that person showed up on the day that I was moving in, it would be irritating.
Right. And
Just a second. It would be irritating. So I want you to tell me, so that this face believes it, when you uncross.
Sorry.
When you told your friend who was moving in with you, and not only moving in with you, but you had a kid that cries, that gets up during the night, so she was moving, and you were splitting expenses. 50-50?
No. It was split evenly between the three of us.
When you first moved in, when did you and she discuss that?
Prior to us moving in, she did know that we were all...
No, don't tell me what you knew. When did you tell her? Because you started to tell me before, and you're going to read back to me. All the way at the very beginning, she started to give me some sort of story. He was going through some sort of trouble, difficulty where he was. It was going to be a whole...
She said we were staying together. He was going through something legally, and at first we weren't going to move together.
Do you remember you said that?
Right.
Thank you, Whitney.
I was originally going to sign the lease alone. I invited her to join my lease after she had gotten kicked out of where she was staying already. She was homeless, winter was coming, so me being a friend to her, I invited her to...
Can I interrupt, please?
I asked you a simple question.
And I answered.
When did you discuss with her that your first name is Deshawn?
Yes, ma'am.
That Deshawn was part of the package.
He was all along.
No.
All along.
I want you to tell me when.
A date, like a specific date. It was before we moved in, so...
So let's hear the discussion. We talked about moving in together, signing a lease together, and you said, Deshawn is moving in with me, but
In my
he's not
file.
on the lease.
Yes.
What was he going through? What was he, remember what you just read?
Yeah.
What was he going through that maybe you were not going to move in together?
He had a charge pending.
What charge pending?
I'm not sure exactly.
Yes, you are.
I'm not.
I had a felony theft that's working on getting dismissed right now.
So he has a pending felony charge, which is either a grand larceny or a robbery, because that's a theft. You know, theft of services, like when you jump a turnstile, isn't a felony. Not even something that they stop people for anymore. Okay. And that's still pending, so I'm not going to ask you anything about it. Is that the only thing you have pending?
No, ma'am.
Okie dokie. Excellent judgment on your part.
I was explaining
Excellent
what I had.
judgment on your part. Let's move on. How old are you?
I'm 22.
22. Super duper.
That has nothing to do
I'm not
with...
That didn't require an answer. It was a statement.
Foston and Deshawn Johnson claim their former friend and roommate, Jasmine Stiegel, owes for a broken memorial and vehicle damages. Jasmine is countersuing, claiming Deshawn assaulted her.
Now, okay, this is what your claim is about, because now I'm going to make really, really short shrift of this. Things didn't work out. Things didn't work out between the two of you. And it is your claim that when there was a fight between the two of you, she moved out. She says that not only was there constant fighting between the two of you, but I think somewhere in here, let me see in this answer, that they were constantly fighting, but she had had it when they started selling drugs out of the apartment. That's what she says.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's not true.
Don't speak. I want you to tell me what you saw that suggested to you that they were selling drugs out of the apartment.
Your Honor, you know, I work all day as a personal trainer. So when I came home, I seen gambling in the kitchen, him and his friends. It was a whole bunch of people. I felt super uncomfortable. And it's just like, when I come home, I have to go straight to my room and shut my door.
No, what I want to know
and
is...
weed all on the table, full bags, pounds full of weed, and smoke everywhere.
So you're talking about bags of marijuana on the table.
Yes.
And he and his friends sitting in the kitchen playing cards and smoking.
Yes.
Okay, fine. It's enough to move out.
It is.
I'm just telling you, it's enough to move out.
And the domestically broken windows and glasses.
Okay.
I'm here because she hit my vehicle with hers.
Just a second. Just a second. You're here because you say that she broke
lease as well.
that she broke the lease.
And she hit my vehicle.
Just a second.
with her-
I
my
know
main
all
point.
the components of your case. Now, I have not asked you. I'm going to ask him because I don't know where you were. Now, were you and your friends playing cards in the kitchen?
Listen.
That's either a yes or a no.
I don't even play cards, ma'am.
Were you
No.
and your friends?
No, ma'am.
You didn't even wait for my question, so I'm not going to ask the question. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
She had a right to move out.
That wasn't when she moved out, and it wasn't the
Just-
reason she moved
I don't
out.
listen. That's a reason.
happened.
That's a reason to move out.
But it didn't happen.
What didn't happen? You mean smoking weed in your house?
Selling weed out of my house, that did not happen. No, ma'am.
Nor gambling.
Jars
Playing
full
cards.
of weed
none of that.
and bags.
You mean everything was fine in the house? Is that what you're telling me? You never fought with Deshawn.
We fight like couples do.
No,
but
no.
I never involved her in anything.
No. There's a difference between physical fighting
We
and
did not
screaming.
physically fight.
Yes, because
Breaking-
that's not the first time he put his hands on me. Actually, this is like the third time. So when they fought and I tried to break it up because my niece that I was claiming that's her daughter, she was right there and she was just screaming for her life. So I just picked her up and then I went in there to break it up to try to, isolate the situation and have them like go take their breaks from each other or whatever. And I even tried to talk to them. I tried to talk to her plenty of times. Like I sat there like, are we good? Are we okay? Like what's going on? I talked to him telling him like, your daughter is in his house. She needs to be around supervision that is something that's going to benefit her. She's going to grow up and be something, not around all of this destruction that's going to literally destroy her childhood, her
I got it.
adolescence.
I just said that I believe you, and the portion of her complaint that is charging you for breaking the lease and moving out, I'm dismissing.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's it. Now, the next thing she has, breach of lease, is out. Damaged memorial. There was a fight in the house. Deshawn, I want you to think about this carefully. She came in with a property manager. Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, she had been in the day before, because the day before is when she started to move all of her stuff out. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So far, we're on the same page. And then there were some things she left behind, so she came back with the property manager. And you were in the apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
And you had other people in the apartment that were either your friends or relatives.
It was my sister and her boyfriend.
Did you answer the door, or did she just walk in with the apartment manager?
I answered the door.
So you were at home also?
Yes, ma'am.
That means the baby was home.
Yes.
At some point, when she was there to collect her things, Deshawn, the property manager left.
Yes, ma'am. Because she's
Uncomfortable.
The property manager left.
Yes, ma'am.
When the property manager left, Deshawn, had there been some arguing between the defendant, you, your girlfriend, and maybe your sister and her boyfriend? Had there been any arguing? That's either...
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the arguing was about what, Deshawn?
About her belongings. She was trying to bum rush her way inside our home, putting her hands all in L'Oreal's face.
Just a second. No. She came in with the property manager.
Yes, ma'am.
She came to retrieve the rest of her belongings with the property manager.
Which was by the door in one box of hair products, barely anything.
Who put them in the box?
L'Oreal.
Okay, so she decided what was hers and put it in a box near the door. Just don't, I'm not asking you anything.
I'm not saying anything.
Good. So your girlfriend decided what was hers in the apartment, put it near the door.
Yes, ma'am.
And she was there with the property manager, and she wanted to walk around the apartment to see if there was anything else there.
But how yes, ma'am.
Right. And then there was arguing. That's all your stuff, that's all there is.
Yes, ma'am. But I'm saying the reason why L'Oreal felt uncomfortable with her coming inside the apartment because my niece was there as well. And she felt uncomfortable because of how she was going about the situation. Nobody knew if she was going to break anything else.
Just a second. Listen to me carefully.
Yes, ma'am.
The property manager was there.
She even walked away
The
because...
property manager was there because there was yelling going on. One person isn't yelling. One person isn't yelling. That's a psychotic person, walks around the street yelling.
Yes, ma'am.
There was yelling going on from everybody.
No.
Really, only one person yelling.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, why would she be yelling if she was going around the apartment looking for her things?
She came to the door aggressively, banging like the police, like SWAT team or something.
Okay.
Gonna kick the door down.
All right, let's... Okay,
early
so
in
the
morning.
property manager left. After the property manager left,
She was disgusted with
just a
her
second.
actions.
Your Honor, do you give me a chance to speak, please?
Just a second.
Okay.
I have a case here that I really have zero interest in.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I really have zero interest in the plant that got broken that has a value of $50 that had sentimental value for him because somebody signed the pottery. I'm really not interested in. I'm interested in this case for two things and two things only. One, breach of lease,
Right.
which I find that you had reason to breach. Two, money owed for damaged vehicle. Now, is that what you want to show me a video of?
Yes, ma'am.
Then I'm going to see it because at the same time that you came to get the rest of your stuff, the property manager left. It is their claim that you purposely left the house and, in a fit, hit the side of their car, causing damage.
Right.
I'm going to see the video, and then you're going to explain to me your version of what happened.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that's all I'm interested in.
Okay, Your Honor.
Great. Oh, yeah, you hit her car.
Hit and run. No license as well. Suspended.
I didn't ask you a question. Now, you have to understand, that's the only thing left in this case.
Right.
Is that video which shows your car hitting her car
Yes.
square on and then going around it.
I actually was kind of swerving when I backed out because he was coming after me. And I had anxiety. As you can see, I'm shaking right now. But he came running out and literally knocked me down from behind and started punching on me from behind and stumping my face out. That's how I got the sty in my eye. And then his sister came out after I got up, and then we started fighting. And then that's when he jumped back in and jumped me. And then I'm trying to hurry up and grab my stuff and my phone and my keys so I can leave. And they're right there, all literally surrounding me, trying to jump me and stuff, putting their hands on me. He's knocking me, hitting
Your
me.
Honor, I never touched
and then
her.
I'm
I
trying to
went
run.
back into the house.
Just a second. I didn't ask you anything.
I just wanted to make sure that you know that.
Just a second. I didn't ask you anything. I'm here to tell you you have lousy judgment.
L'Oreal Foston and Deshaun Johnson have accused their former friend, Jasmine Stiegel, of intentionally damaging L'Oreal's car. Jasmine claims she was assaulted by Deshaun.
Okay. Actually, there's only one person that I feel sorry for.
I bet.
And that person
The same
is
person who had
under
gotten
a
kicked
year
out of
old.
another house.
And that person is under a year old.
She's very well taken care of. She
Well,
didn't witness any of this happening. And
wonderful.
I'm sure that that's why
I said to you, don't
because
speak.
she was causing commotion
Listen,
in front of my kid, and that's why I asked her to leave.
I want you to clearly understand this. She's not paying for the rest of your lease, and she's
fine.
paying to fix your car. You still have lousy judgment.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I saw the damage to the car, and now I'd like to see an estimate to have it fixed.
Your Honor, I have also...
Don't speak. Just estimate. Down. Sarah, I want you to look up the value of a 2015 Hyundai Sonata with 100,000 miles on it. Do you have insurance on this car?
I did.
Just a second. This cost to repair is $7,600. Did the insurance company pay you to fix it?
No.
That's what this says. Insurance pay.
That's just the quote from the how they wrote it out at the body shop.
Just a second. Did you report it to the insurance company?
Yes.
Of course you did. And the name of the insurance company?
Progressive.
And did Progressive come out and look at the car?
No, they weren't. They said they wouldn't cover it.
Show me a letter from them that said that they wouldn't cover
Is it okay if I look at my phone?
Absolutely.
So an estimate for a 2015 Hyundai Sonata with 100,000 miles, it says 8,500 to 10,000.
Okay, while she's looking for that, you have a counterclaim for assault. So my question to you is, after this incident that happened on the 12th, did you ever, on the 12th, 13th, or 14th, seek medical attention? That's a yes or a no.
No.
Did you take any photographs of your injuries that you allege you sustained on April 12th?
Yes, right
I'd like
here.
to see it.
May I show you text messages about the car as well, please, of them taunting me?
Of them taunting you?
Yes.
No, not interested. Okay. Did you find a letter from your insurance company?
No, they didn't send me a letter. It was a phone call. What I have is the claim number and everything, but I don't have an email from them saying that. They called me and told me that they wouldn't be covering it.
What kind of insurance do you have on the car? Just
coverage.
liability? You have full coverage?
Yes.
Well, if you have full coverage, they should be paying for it with a deductible.
Right. So what happened was my first payment, I had just gotten the car. So apparently my first payment, my initial payment for the insurance company, for whatever reason, it got sent back to my bank account.
So you had,
they said
just
I
a
wasn't-
second. So what you're saying is you had
I had to reinstate
you
it
had
back.
no insurance.
And I didn't know.
I don't care whether you knew or you didn't know. You just got a car.
I had
and
insurance before I left off the lot.
And you didn't have insurance, because if you say you had full coverage, you had full coverage, but it wasn't paid. Did you have a loan on the car?
Yes, ma'am.
And despite the fact that you signed documents that said that you would have insurance on the car.
Which I did.
Which you did not.
I did.
No, you didn't.
I fixed it that day. I got it reinstated as soon as I found out that it wasn't covered. But when I left the lot, I did have insurance.
Do you understand
I
what
had
I'm
insurance.
saying to you?
Yes, ma'am, I had
The
insurance.
day of this incident, which is, I've been doing this now. This is my 26th year of adjudicating these
surprise,
kinds
no,
of
I did not
cases.
on that day.
And I can't tell you how many people have said to me, I paid it, it didn't have a stamp on the envelope, it didn't go through my bank, and that is the time period when I had this accident. I can't tell you how many times, I can't count them on both fingers and toes, where there was a non-payment and a cancellation, because if there's non-payment and a cancellation of the policy, they always send you a warning. A warning. So you're going to have to suck part of this up yourself. You can't hit her car. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Your Honor,
She
I
wants
had
$7,000 to fix her car. I'm going to give her $2,500 because she can have this car fixed for $5,000, and the other $25,000 she's going to pay herself because she didn't have insurance on
No,
something
ma'am.
that she was supposed to have
I did
insurance
have
on.
insurance. I even offered to put her on my insurance because her vehicle isn't insured, and I can show you the text messages.
Very good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. Your claim for assault is dismissed because you have no proof of an
What
assault.
about
We are finished.
Court is adjourned.
I respect the judge once again.
It's not even going to be enough to get it repaired now.
He was just crazy, breaking everything, and he put his hands on me, so.
She could have called the police or anything like that if that was true, you feel me?
Even though it looks like I'm going slow and did it intentionally, but I really didn't.
She just likes attention, and when it's not on her, she does what she has to do to get it on her.
You know, I've tried my luck over the years with a few roommates, and living together creates a really stressful environment. So I sort of decided a smaller, singular place is better for myself. But we see this time and time again. People are best friends, they live together, a boyfriend comes along, a child comes along, and there's just too many variables to keep the relationship the same. And I think it's really unfortunate, but we've seen it far too many
More
times.
young people fighting for economics move in together as roommates, more so than when I was young in the Stone Age. But you know, the truth is, it's hard enough to live with somebody that you really love and make concessions for usually their foibles or their behavior, whatever. And then always there's a third party involved in that mix that gets sort of nasty. I agree with you, Sarah. I think living smaller alone is better.
Yeah, I took your advice on that.
Suing fellow driver Diana Belfontaine for lost wages from false police charges.
Court come to order. All rise.
Be seated, please.
Good morning, Judge. We have case 1083, Bruce versus Belfontaine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Bruce, you're a driver for Uber.
Was.
How long were you an Uber driver?
2 years almost.
Your complaint states that you're immunocompromised.
Yeah, I have asthma.
Take medication for it,
I have an inhaler.
and that's it.
Yeah.
This incident happened on what date?
July 31st, 2020.
Briefly and succinctly, it is your claim that the defendant filed a false police report against you, which resulted in your losing your job as an Uber driver.
Yes.
And you want to be compensated to the tune of $10,000.
Yeah, at this point, Your Honor, I've lost over $10,000 in wages,
That's possible,
and I've been blacklisted.
because you have an arrest for assault. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's a pending battery charge that they kicked me off the platform for.
Okay. Is that action still pending?
It's been dismissed, but Uber will not take my phone calls.
Just a second.
Yes.
I just want to make certain that that criminal action has been dismissed. Otherwise, I would not do this case.
Yes, and I have
Good.
proof.
I'd like to see the document that dismisses the criminal trial.
Yes.
and then we'll get to the facts. Oh, my dear. Okay, I'll get to this in a second. Okay, so this is what happened, and it was on July 31st, 2020. You and the defendant, who did not know each other prior to this confrontation, were both standing in line, according to what I read, to have your cars washed. You were driving for Uber at the time, and according to you, had been for a couple of years, and had been doing that during the height of the global pandemic. And you claim that you felt specifically threatened in this case because you were immunocompromised. I asked what the nature of that illness was, and you say you had asthma, for which you take an inhaler. Okay, it is your claim that there was a dispute over the defendant cutting in front of your car. She says cutting in front of your car, pushing in where two lanes merged to pay to get into the car wash. You'll explain that to me in a little more depth. According to you, the defendant got out of her car in a violent manner, came up to your car. You opened the passenger window.
My passenger side window is already down.
Fine. She came up to the car, you say, acting erratically. She was yelling at you, and she was yelling at you during COVID. She was unmasked. You felt threatened. In order to get her away from the car, according to you, you flung at the car window a empty Pringles can. That's what I believe you say in here. It was an empty Pringles can. I may be wrong. You look as if you want to say something.
Well, the report came up a little wrong.
I'm looking at what you said to me in here.
Okay.
Yes, I panicked and I grabbed an empty Pringles container and threw it towards the window. That's what you wrote. You remember writing that?
They wrote that out a little bit wrong. I bopped her with it. But yes, Pringle can.
I grabbed an empty Pringles can and threw it towards the window. So what you're saying now, that is not correct. You hit her with the empty Pringles can.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And then she got back into her car, and you decided not to go through the car wash at that time, and you left.
Yes, I...
So far.
Never got...
So far, is that correct? You did not go through the car wash, and you left.
Yes, and I never got out of my car.
I didn't say you got out of your car. Okay. I said you... Yes. You corrected me and said that you didn't throw this empty Pringles container at her. You bopped her with it, which means you hit her with it, and then did not wait around to see what happened. You left.
I left.
Subsequently, you discovered that she had, in fact, reported this incident to the police. She alleged that she was, in fact, assaulted by you with an instrument, and you were, in fact, arrested, and you hired a lawyer. Were you assigned a public defender?
Yes.
Okay. And the public defender, according to this, had conferences with the district attorney. And the district attorney applied for a dismissal of this case in the interests of justice. You know what that means?
Yes.
Okay. Well, for those people who may be watching this, those millions of people, Lord willing, who are watching this program, interests of justice, so say the court, in this case, in the people of the state of California, v. Savannah Marie Bruce. After reviewing the evidence in this case, including the victim's statements, defendant's statements, and independent witness statements, the people conclude that the defendant committed a battery upon the victim. That's the way the court starts. When the defendant struck the victim with a metal water bottle, the defendant had other, less violent means to stop any threat that she felt. That's the conclusion of the court. However, the people also conclude that the defendant could have felt threatened by the victim's aggressive approach to the defendant's car. Therefore, the defendant would likely receive, if the case went to trial, a self-defense instruction. Therefore, she has a colorable self-defense, and the people are unlikely to secure a guilty verdict. That's a verdict beyond a reasonable doubt. That's not my standard here.
Savannah Bruce claims fellow driver Diana Belfontaine owes for lost wages from false police charges. Diana is countersuing for attorney fees and damages from an assault.
Okay, my standard here is much lower. It's a preponderance of the evidence, which means more likely than not. Not clear and convincing, not beyond a reasonable doubt. Preponderance of the evidence. So your claim is self-defense, because according to you, as a result of this action, it's on your papers and you can't get a job. I wouldn't actually say it's being blacklisted. You were arrested for an assault, which you were not found not guilty of. You were not found guilty of. The court declined to hear the case in the interests of justice, probably because you have no record.
I have a clean record.
You have a clean record. The court said, oh, she looks like a nice girl. She has no prior record. How old are you?
26.
So you're 26 years old. We have other more important things to do. The defendant, on the other hand, has a counterclaim. Defendant says there was this incident. She did get out of her car. She went over to your car because she was trying to get back into the lane. You weren't letting her get back into the lane because she thought a lane was opened. It turned out it was closed, so she was trying to get back into her lane, and you were inching up, not allowing her back into the lane. She got out of her car, probably very irritated, came over to your car and probably started to yell at you. Would that be fair?
That's true.
Probably started to yell at you, because I know that you say in your answer, you went over to her and you tried to explain what you were doing, trying to get back into the lane because the lane that you thought was open wasn't open. It's like going to a toll booth. It's happened, well, it doesn't happen to me, but it happens to my husband all the time. We're standing in line and all of a sudden there's no line next to you. Oh, that's a whole new line. I guess nobody else sees that. And he goes over and that toll booth is closed. And then he has to go begging somebody in the other lane to let him back in the lane. Can I go in here? Can I go in here? I say, they're not crazy about you. They're not letting you in. Then he gets mad and more aggressive and he pushes the car closer and closer and closer. So somebody finally lets him in. Would that be a fair statement, Sarah? Okay. Just as long as I don't take the whole heat for this.
Oh, God.
So I know what happened. She got out, she was angry, and it wasn't a quiet conversation. In response to her, I assume there are statements. The court concluded that this was a metal water bottle, not an empty Pringles can. And I assume that there are witness statements to that effect, which I will see, that you hit her with a bottle. She says causing a split lip, which clearly is an assault. It also says that as a result of this, she had a pre-existing heart condition and she suffered a heart attack. She also says that after you were arrested and when you filed a civil case against her, after this dismissal, she was forced to get an attorney. You got a lawyer?
I did not get a lawyer.
You filed it yourself?
Yes.
And you were seeking what kind of damages from her?
Loss of wages.
How much?
$10,000.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any legal advice when you filed that case?
Not much.
What does that mean, not much? By not a smart lawyer, or you didn't talk to the lawyer much, or what does that mean?
Okay, I didn't have legal advice.
Well, I don't think I believe that.
I have a friend who's a lawyer.
Well, that's a lawyer. That the lawyer happens to be a friend. The friend is not a stupid lawyer.
Hopefully not.
Okay. And so, this friend who's a lawyer suggested that once this criminal case was dismissed and you couldn't get a job anymore with Uber, that you could file a civil case against her for false arrest.
Yes.
Would that be right? So good to be around here for so long. Okay. You are seeking damages in the amount of $10,000 for the assault.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes,
now,
Your Honor.
So we're going to start with you because that's where it starts.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
You're both sitting in your cars waiting to get to a single queue in order to pay for the car wash?
I had pulled into the car wash long before her, 30 to 45 seconds before her.
That's not long before.
Well,
30 to 45 seconds is not long before.
The way that you summarized it, you said that she was there at the same time as me, and I changed my mind. Well, no, I had been sitting there when she arrived on the scene. I had already turned my wheels, waiting for the traffic to advance so I could complete the merge when she pulled up. I did not see her car until she cut me off. There was no one behind me for 30 to 45 seconds. And then out of the corner of my eye, I could see all of a sudden another car on the scene and cutting me off. And I looked over to try and make eye contact with this person, but the windows were completely black. I couldn't see the driver at all. And so the traffic advanced again, and I moved up, and so did she. And this happened probably 3 times before I said, "That's it." I got to tell her because I can't see her through her windows or this person. So I got out. She rolled down her window, And immediately we both started shouting at each other. And her car's small, it's low to the ground.
What were you...
So I had to bend over.
Well, just a second. What were you saying to her and what was she saying to you?
Well, we were both shouting...
Expletives.
Yes. I'm not proud of that.
That I can visualize.
Yes.
Okay. And so you leaned over into her car and you were screaming at each other, which I assume you were.
Mm-hmm.
You did see her car trying to get back into the lane. Don't say no.
I saw her trying to cut me off.
You saw her trying to either cut you off or get back into the lane. Were your windows tinted?
My back windows are tinted.
Yes. And the front passenger seat?
Kind of tinted, but not as tinted as the back.
Correct.
Yes.
The only one that's not tinted is the windshield.
Yes.
Okay, what kind of car were you driving?
Subaru WRX.
And what happened next?
And I bent down and I started to point to the lane closure because I wasn't able to make eye contact. So when I finally got her attention, I turned my head and I started pointing that lane was closed when she bashed me with a hydro flask. Only it was a hydro flask that had probably ice in it and water. It was heavy and it split my lip.
Do you have photographs of your injury?
Yes.
I'd like to see them, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
They're required 2
Just a
stitches.
second. You have hospital record?
Yes.
I see them, please. I'm going to wait for you, Miss Bruce, now to tell me your version of the events of the 31st of July.
Okay. I was in line to get my car washed to continue driving for Uber. It was way before you pay, before you merge. I was over here in the left lane. Miss Belafontaine was in the right lane about a car ahead of me, and she starts cutting me off. She crossed 2 white lines to do it, and I'm still unsure why she was trying to cut me off.
Well, she was trying to get in line ahead of you.
Like an entitled Karen kind of
Just a
thing.
second. She was trying to get in line ahead of you.
Yes, before
Okay.
you're supposed to. I would understand if it was time to
No,
move.
I understand she was trying to get in line ahead of you.
Yes.
And?
So we were jockeying for position for about 30 seconds. She gets out of her car and walks up to my passenger side window. Had my windows down, so it was nice. I don't like to run my air conditioner waiting in line that long. And she sticks her head in my window. Am I allowed to cuss?
No, I understand you were cursing. She didn't curse.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
What doing? I didn't exchange any words with her. I went into fight and flight mode, picked up a Pringle can, which is the nearest thing I had next to me, bopped her with it. It served its purpose. She got her head out of my car. I pulled away. I didn't feel I needed to be there, and I got away.
Savannah Bruce has accused fellow driver Diana Belfontaine of cutting her off at a car wash and filing a false police report. Diana is countersuing, claiming she was assaulted during the confrontation with Savannah.
Okay. Do you have a police report? Does anyone have a police report?
Yes. Your Honor, I also have pictures of the car wash where it says please form 2 lanes in the...
I am taking for granted that she either tried to get back into lane or tried to get in front of you. I believe that. I don't believe that entitles you to pick up a dangerous instrument and strike her with it. Neither did the court that dismissed your case. You originally lied to the police. You.
What did I say?
This is the police report of his conversation with you. I asked Savannah if she hit Diana with any type of water bottle. Savannah denied hitting Diana and stated there was not any physical contact. That's not what you just told me.
That's not what I stated to the police. I said I did not hit her with a water bottle.
That's not what it says here. There was also, in this police report, a statement of a person, neither one of you know the witness, John. I assume not. This is just a person who was behind you in the car wash. That person stated in the police report, John observed as both drivers were merging and not backing down. John watched as Diana, that's you, get out of her car and approach the Subaru. That would be you. John observed Diana get hit with some type of canteen-style water bottle. Diana went back to her car and the Subaru made an 8-point turn and turned around to leave the car wash. John wrote down the license plate of the Subaru. if the witness made that statement that neither one of you know and has absolutely no skin in the game, made this report, and if he was able to see her get hit in the mouth with some sort of a water bottle canteen, then her face was not inside your car because you wouldn't have been able to see that. If her face was inside your car, as you stated it was in your complaint that you filed before me. So, Ms. Bruce, there are a couple of things that I'm going to say to you. First of all, I can actually understand how these things get started, and it's really stupid. But you don't have the right to use a dangerous instrument or something that is not a dangerous instrument, but when utilized by you, became a dangerous instrument, causing injury to somebody. You have no right to do that, because what had happened was bad words, angry words. And the first thing that I remember learning as a child was sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Which means if she called you whatever name she wants to call you, you can't pick up an instrument and use it as a dangerous instrument against another human being. Period. End of discussion. Whatever the words are not sufficient for you to injure somebody. There's another legal inference, and that is when you assault someone, you take the victim with all of their history. In this case, you hit a victim with a cardiac history, and she landed not only in the hospital with a split lip that required suturing, but she also had a heart attack. And the level of your arrogance to me in suing her after this case was dismissed, not on the merits, for your lost wages, is the level of your arrogance is astronomical. Astronomical.
I have a kid to support.
I don't care who you support. She's not responsible for that. You are.
I'm not responsible for
You
her heart attack.
You are responsible for assaulting her and causing her a split lip and a heart attack because she had had previous heart condition, and this incident that you created by hitting her with that water bottle, not an empty Pringles can, that type of water bottle, so says an independent witness, and causing her injury, you're responsible for that. She's not responsible for you losing your job. You are. You are. And I don't care whether you have 10 kids to support.
May I say something?
Sure.
She was spitting at me, basically.
No, that's not, don't use the word basically like a 26-year-old. Basically is not what she was doing. She was yelling at you. You said she was yelling at you, and spittle was coming out as she was yelling at you. So you feel threatened. Grow up. You have a kid to support. That means you have to grow up. She doesn't owe you a thing.
So she was.
So your case, you asked me if you could ask me a question.
Yeah.
I answered your question. I don't have to answer any more of your questions. You were wrong. I don't say she was right in trying to get in front of you. That's not what I'm here to adjudicate. I'm here to adjudicate your response. And your response was to assault her. And you can't do that. And if you lost your job because of it, good. If that's the kind of temper you have, good. And maybe because you have an immune compromised system, you should find another venue to work other than being an Uber driver with a lot of strangers in your car. Maybe. In any event, your case is dismissed. You have a counterclaim for $10,000. That's granted. Judgment on the counterclaim for $10,000. We're finished. Court is adjourned.
It was definitely self-defense.
The whole thing from the very beginning is just unbelievable.
I was very frightened when this lady came to my car. I thought she was going to possibly shoot me.
Judge Judy said it perfectly. The level of her arrogance is astronomical.
She should know not to be putting herself in that kind of situation.
I'm not a person to be bullied.
I can't even talk right now.
There's a lesson for her in this, to grow up.
Have you ever been the victim of road rage?
Not to this extent, but, I've gotten a few disgruntled looks or yelling from the inside of their car.
It's frightening.
Yeah.
I think that the defendant in this case, although the successful litigant, should have just been smarter. She's older. I just don't understand that if you can avoid that kind of confrontation,
just let it go.
It's not urgently important. So you'll get to pay for your car wash 30 seconds later. Instead, you end up with a split lip and a heart attack. So a couple of lessons to take away. You stay in your car. You want to yell at another person in the car for cutting you off. You want to give him an expletive with one of your hands, but stay in your car. Don't get out of your car. Nothing is worth getting into a physical altercation with somebody.
No need to let
Tragic.
it escalate to that level.
Amber Milkey is suing D'Angelo Larinaga for vet bills and the loss of value for her injured pony.
All rise. Court come to order. Hello, Judge. We have case number 1018, Milkey versus Larinaga.
Thank you. Be seated, please. Miss Milkey, you and a group of friends, family, kids decided to take a long ride, according to your complaint, with your horses to some sort of a state park.
Little Missouri State Park in North Dakota.
How long a trip did you make?
I believe it was 3 days of riding, 5 days total with the travel.
And on what date did you arrive?
The incident was on the 30th, so that would have been the 28th that we arrived.
Did you ride on the 29th?
Correct, yep. We rode for 2 days prior to the incident.
So you actually rode your horses. How many horses were there in total?
There were 3 horses and 3 ponies.
How many people?
2 adults, 6 children.
So some kids rode along with a parent.
Correct, yep. My daughter rode behind me on my horse. Elena had her son behind her on her horse, and also her younger child on the front in one of those carry. And the other 2 rode ponies separately.
The first day that you rode, did you have a pleasant day?
Yeah,
you rode
every day was pleasant.
You rode in the park?
Correct, yep.
Had you seen other people in the park?
Correct, yes.
Were there other people?
Yes.
Had any difficulty?
No.
How many hours a day did you ride?
We typically go on 3 to 4 hour rides at a time.
So 3 to 4 hours the first day you arrived, and 3 to 4 hours the second day you arrived?
Correct.
And did you see other people in the park?
Yes.
Were there other animals in the park?
Yes.
Horses?
Horses and dogs.
Any incidents?
No.
Now we're going to get to the 30th. What time of the day did you leave?
I would guess around 9:30.
And what time did this incident occur?
Before noon, I would say around 11 or 11:30, somewhere in there.
So you were riding for at least an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
With all?
Correct. Everyone was on the ride with us.
All 8 people and all the horses?
Yes.
Now I want you to describe to me the incident that occurred that brings us to court today.
Okay. When we trail ride, the trails are narrow, so we ride in a line or single file, I guess is the best way to describe it. So yeah, we were out on the trail riding. The younger girl that was with us, that was 13, was in the lead on one of my horses. All the horses there that weekend were mine. They're all trained by me.
And don't editorialize, just tell me.
Sorry.
Just tell me about the incident.
Yes, so as we were riding, headed towards camp, we saw some cows off in the distance, and they sounded like they're in distress. When cows are in distress, they're bellowing. So we heard the cows, we saw some dogs, and we thought, well, maybe the ranchers are just moving their cattle to another pasture. No big deal. We're used to cows and dogs, so no big deal. As we came over the hill towards where the cattle were, as we came over, there was a dog that met us at the top of the hill. And the horses stopped and kind of froze.
Okay, one sec.
Okay.
You're riding on a trail.
Correct.
It's a narrow trail. So the lead horse that was being ridden by a 13-year-old.
Correct.
But you could see her.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're in.
I was second in line.
And when you say a dog met us at the top of the hill, was there a person with the dog?
No.
And what did the dog look like?
It was a husky with a curved tail, like grayish white in color.
Okay, now tell me what happened.
Okay, so I told the girl in front, Maddie, just to stay calm, because we weren't sure what the dog would do. But before anything else happened, the dog lunged at the horse and grabbed onto her nose. So grabbed onto the nose. The horse turned out, being spooked from this, and ran back down the hill. But then when that horse ran, all the other horses in turn continued, and the dog continued chasing the horse and biting its heels, causing it to run faster, and the horses to spook more.
Now, when the dog was running after the lead horse, did you see a person?
Not immediately.
Okay. At what point did you see a person?
After my horse had turned around and we were headed the other way, I could hear someone shouting and see someone running behind me.
Is that person in court today?
Yes.
Point. That would be the defendant, Mr. Larinaga.
Correct.
Could you hear what he was saying?
Yes, he said, "I'm so sorry." The exact words.
That's about right. Okay. And that's what this case is about. Your pony was injured, you had vet bills, was out of commission for a long time. You're going to have to prove to me, if I find in your favor, that the pony that was injured was devalued because of the injury.
Yes.
In any event, there was one pony that was injured, that ran into a fence.
Yes, there was one pony that was seriously injured. All the horses did receive cuts and bruises and minor injuries.
Also, as a result of this, I see from your complaint that people fell off their horses.
Yes, correct. Everyone fell off except for me. All the kids were very traumatized by this incident. Sorry.
Everybody fell off the horses.
Correct.
Except you.
Except me.
And the defendant was in a position to see that everybody fell off their horses.
Yes.
Did he ever retrieve his dog? How did he retrieve his dog?
Not until about a mile down the trail. The horses followed the way that they had came from. They ran into a barbed wire fence, and that's where they were cornered and had to stop.
And is that where the dog was?
I was not there, but when we got to where the horses were, the defendant was there with his dogs.
How many dogs did he have?
2.
Was it both that were chasing
Yes.
the horses, or just one?
One that was biting that I could see. Both were chasing.
You're on.
How do I begin?
Well, try to begin with the truth. That's always the easiest thing to begin with. I read her complaint. I read your answer. Now you're going to have to convince me about the veracity of your answer, which I don't believe.
Would you like me to start from the top, from how our day began?
I'm not interested in your day.
Amber Milkey claims D'Angelo Laranaga's off-leash dogs attacked her horses, causing them serious injuries.
Okay, I'm interested in one thing. Did you have control of your dogs?
Yes, I did.
Okay, well, that's what you're going to have to convince me of, sir.
Alrighty.
Because unless you were running very fast and holding on to the dog that met her up at the top of the ridge, holding on, which she didn't see, and was running at a heavy pace, holding on to the dog's collar as the dog was chasing the horses, then I don't believe you. You see, and if I were to believe you, because that's what you wrote in your answer, what you wrote in your answer was what she's telling me is a complete bunch of who shot John.
It is.
That it is. I don't believe you.
Well, it is.
So get it together and take a deep breath. Take a deep breath, because if you think that I think that you and your son were out at the park with your dogs on leashes, I'm 29 and 5'7".
Well, my dogs were on leash as we came through the state park. We were walking over 2 miles without seeing a single person. We decided to take lunch, and that's when I did let my dogs off leash.
Just say then I let my dogs off leash.
They were off leash. We were taking lunch, and we were in an open field.
Not only off leash, you had taken the leash off the dogs so that just their collars were on.
That is correct.
That is correct. All right, so let's not say we were taking lunch and I dropped the leash, and I ran after and I grabbed the leash. You took the collar off the dog because you were having lunch, so you were no longer in control of your dog.
My dogs listen, and they are trained. They are under my control.
No, sir. Clearly not.
This is not my fault. I do not know what actually spooked her horse. I
don't care. Just a second. I don't know what you know because you weren't there.
I was there.
No.
I had my dogs.
No, you were not there. I don't believe you were there.
Her horses were halfway spooked coming up the hill. I don't know if it's because they heard us or what, but I know for a fact my dog did not bite
Just a
her
second.
Horse.
What I find fascinating is that you just get yourself into it. Her horses were spooked before they got to the top of the hill. How can you see that? Just a second. Do you have x-ray vision through a hill? I mean, you're taking lunch. Your dogs are off leash. And you're looking because you see through a hill that her horses were spooked before they got to the top of the hill.
It wasn't much of a hill. I saw them peeking over the hill.
Well, how high was the hill? Was the top of the hill taller than you?
Not more than 8 feet tall.
Well, I can't see through an 8 feet tall hill.
What I mean to say is, as the dogs crested the horses crested over the hill, that's when they became spooked. I don't know if there was a snake in the bush.
I don't
know if there was something else there.
I don't care what you think. She was the second person in line. She saw what happened. You did not see what happened.
So did I. I had my dogs right there by me.
Nah, I don't believe you. Sir, I don't believe you. And I would suggest that this is your son?
Yes.
And I would suggest that you not put him up on the stands. He's already heard his father tell a fib. And I don't want to put your son, your young son, in a position where he's going to do what you just did, which is tell a fib.
I'm not fibbing.
Which is absolutely. I mean, any person with a brain can see exactly what happened. You were doing what you were doing. You were having lunch. I mean, because I don't know how you were having lunch at the top of a hill.
It was an open field.
You said it was a portable lunch. You were having a sandwich.
Sure, yes. We're on a hike. I mean, we had to take something to eat.
I love it. It's
the trail
embarrassing.
itself is over 5 miles.
You're embarrassing yourself in front of your child.
I don't feel
You're
embarrassed.
embarrassed. Well, I'm embarrassed for him. That's what happened. When something happens like that, it's not something that you did intentionally, sir. You were in a state park with your 2 dogs, off leash, whatever excuse you made that you were walking with them with their leashes all morning and you decided to take lunch at 11:30 in the morning. He did say 11:30. Did he not?
That time.
Or she said it was between 11 and 11:30.
She said before noon, I would say around 11 or 11:30, somewhere in there.
Okay. So you decided to take an early lunch. And it was at that point you want me to believe that when you were taking an early lunch and having a sandwich, which gave you the ability to have control over your dog, that you were on this hill and you saw through the hill that the horse was spooked when they were on the other side of the hill, and you were on the other side of the hill, and you saw that your dog, because your dog is under your verbal control, you saw that your dog did not either go after the horse, even if the dog didn't go after the horse, come up to it and bark, not under your control, and then chase it to the fence, is what you're telling me. If you say your dog did not chase the horses, pay attention to my question, then what you're telling me is you had control of your dog, you took your dog, and you did not get to the scene of where the horses stopped. That's just think about the answer first. If what you want me to believe is, and what you're telling me is you had control of your dog, one or both, that you wouldn't go running after your dog down to a fence.
I was not running after my dog.
Okay.
I was trying to help the situation. I saw that everybody had fallen. I grabbed the leash. I did chase my dog for 2 seconds. Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying
yes,
to you,
I do.
sir?
I do.
You understand what I'm saying to you?
My dog was under control, but I didn't have to.
You sound foolish.
Okay.
Because there's no way that a normal person with any common sense at all is assessing this testimony, which you keep changing, by the way. You keep tripping yourself up. You keep tripping just a little bit. I did chase it, but just for 2 seconds. How do you chase a dog for 2 seconds that you have control over?
Well,
how do you chase a dog for 2 seconds?
She was riled up as well by the horses just jumping around. I mean, there's no reason they should have
been on the trail. You want to say that? There's no reason that the horses should have been on the trail.
Without being trained enough to deal with a dog.
They were out there for 2 days without incident in a park with lots of people and lots of dogs. Right. You and your kid decided to take your dogs off leash, and there was a terrible accident. And you have to take responsibility for the ultimate result of not having control of your dogs. People could have gotten seriously injured. Now, it may be in a state park, people are willing to take that risk. Listen, my dogs are very good dogs. We were in the uncross your arms. My dogs are very good dogs. They follow my direction. But there's a reason that we require people to have control of their dogs at all times, because accidents happen. And you don't make up a foolish story, especially to this face, in front of hopefully tens of millions of people that doesn't take responsibility. And if you say, my dog was there, we had been camping for 3 days, never had any incident. It ran up the hill. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't know horses were coming over the hill. The horses got spooked. But there's a rule in the law, and it's called but for. It's a simple rule. It probably has some sort of a Latin name, but I'm a simple girl from Brooklyn.
For Milky has accused dog owner D'Angelo Larinaga of injuring her horses.
Okay, but for the fact that you did not have control of your dogs, this incident wouldn't have happened. But because they had been out for at least 6 hours over a 2-day period, maybe 7 or 8, with other people who had dogs, probably unleashed. So you're in a state park. You have dogs, they like to run around. You throw a frisbee, they go and chase the frisbee. Well, most of the time, nothing happens. But in the unlikely event that a 3-year-old catches the frisbee, you never know what that dog's going to do. You take a risk when you lose control of your dog. What was the vet bill?
The total vet expenses were $2,243.79, and I do have invoices for all of those.
He doesn't doubt it. Were the park rangers called to this incident?
Yes, I did call them with my cell phone.
Did anything happen as a result of that, sir?
I did receive text messages showing the injured pony.
No, as a result of the park ranger connection.
Well, yes, that case was dismissed.
Okay, what case?
The case of the state of North Dakota, the county of Dunn.
So,
versus myself.
Okay. Were you arrested?
No, I was not.
Okay, were you cited? Tell me
did
how it
receive a
happened.
Complaint.
What?
I did receive a complaint.
Okay, I'd like to see it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, this is a complaint, and this complaint refers to a statute. Sarah, would you pull up that statute for me? Make sure
I
it's...
do have a copy of the statute.
You do? If she can get it for me. It's actually for disorderly conduct, right? They could have arrested you, but they did not, because that's what that document says.
I suppose
that's
so.
the statute?
I have it.
You have it?
I believe this references subsection G, Your Honor, in the complaint.
Okay, so what happened as a result of this? Did you have a hearing?
I did.
And did you testify at the hearing?
No.
You did not?
No.
Why not?
Because the case was brought in front of the judge, and...
No, just a second. If you don't appear for a hearing, you're usually found guilty.
No, I'm sorry. Well, I did appear. It was just because of COVID. It was a Zoom call.
Do you know what I'm
I
doing?
guess I'm misunderstanding is all. Yes, I did appear in front of a judge, and the case was dismissed.
Okay, and it was dismissed under what condition?
Under the condition that
No, just a second. I'd like to see the notice of dismissal. Did you testify at this hearing?
The case was dismissed because the attorney did not show, and the judge let the case go.
Which attorney didn't show?
The state's attorney.
The state's attorney didn't show up.
Mm-hmm. The judge dismissed all cases that day for that state's attorney.
Is it accurate that the case was dismissed because the other side didn't show up?
That is true.
Okay. That's an answer. Good. All right. Now, the remainder of your damages is to show me the depreciated value to the pony. Do you have photographs of the pony?
I do.
And the injuries? Oh. Have you seen these photographs, sir?
I have seen some.
Your unleashed dogs caused a great deal of damage.
I do believe that.
I don't care what you believe.
The barbed wire.
I don't
scratch the horse.
I don't care what you believe.
I know my dog did not bite her horse, though. It wasn't
Your
anywhere near the horse.
unleashed animal caused a domino effect which caused injury, could have caused injury to human beings. You chose to have a dog unleashed. Usually it's okay. This time it was not your choice. But for your actions, this incident would not have occurred.
It
You
may
take a
have,
chance.
though.
Just a sec. This is not a dance
Okay.
where you lead and then I lead.
Sure.
You talk, I finish. That's the rule.
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Milky, is this the pony that was injured?
Yes.
And whose child is riding the pony?
In that picture that you just showed was my son Wyatt.
Okay. When did you purchase this pony?
Purchased the pony when my son was 3 years old.
How old is he now?
He's 8.
And has he ridden this pony in competitions? That looks like a competition picture.
Correct. He trained the pony himself for the barrel racing. The pony was broke to ride, but not trained for speed events.
Has he been able to ride the pony since in competition?
He has rode his pony. Not at events.
Not at events.
Correct.
Have there been any events?
There's been a few.
Is the pony capable of being ridden?
Yes.
That way?
I don't know that she will ever ride the same way as she was before.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Court adjourned.
My kids were traumatized just as much by the whole incident.
It's probably one of the worst days of my life.
I know that we tried to help our best to alleviate the situation.
They are not afraid dogs. We have 3 dogs at home that ride with us, but our dogs also don't bite our horses' faces.
I still don't believe that we're responsible for this situation.
They were chasing cattle before that the owners were letting them.
You know, it is what it is.
You really came down hard on that defendant in there.
I did. Because any normal person understands that when you take dogs to a state park, you take big huskies, you're not going to keep them on a leash. And usually it's okay. But this wasn't okay. This turned out badly. And it's a risk that you take. But then if you take the risk and something bad happens, you take responsibility for it. And when you fabricate in front of your child, that is the worst lesson that you can teach them. Anyway, that's why.
Christina Parra is suing her ex-boyfriend, Lorenzo Jordan, for a dental bill and travel costs.
Court come to order. All rise.
Be seated, please.
Hello, Judge. We have case number 1023, Parr versus Jordan.
Thank you. Ms. Parr, Mr. Jordan is your former boyfriend, and you claim over the course of the relationship a series of loans. Mr. Jordan has a cross-complaint, and his cross-complaint is for a serious assault that he claims he was the victim of at your hand. According to what I've read, you met the defendant in 2019 online. Is that right?
That is not
What
correct.
year?
We met in January of 2019 in a restaurant when he was working for a micro wrestling team.
Okay, were you a customer at that restaurant?
I was an employee.
And he?
He was an assigned vendor, I guess, that they came in and set up and did micro wrestling.
In what month did you begin living together?
April.
And he came to live with you. You have 3 children.
That is correct.
According to your complaint, the first loan that you made to him was for dental work.
That is correct.
The second loan that you made to him was for travel expenses to go to another jurisdiction so he could reconnect with a child that he had from another relationship.
That is correct.
And you had never met that child or the child's mother.
That is correct.
And you were curious.
No, I was just trying to help.
Well, let's get to the first loan, because living as long as I have, it gives you certain advantages. Those advantages are that there are certain things that regularly happen when a woman is crazy about a guy and wants to do everything to make it solid. The first loan that you made to him was in what year to have his teeth fixed?
December of 2019.
I want you to tell me your version of this loan for dental work.
Okay, so we had started dating. He had told me that he had went to prison in the past, and that's why his teeth were all rotted out. And that was a lie.
Just a second.
Most of his teeth.
Just a second. You know, you have to understand that I understand casual conversation, pillow talk. I know the difference between those things. So I want you to tell me exactly when he asked you for a loan to have his teeth fixed.
I don't know the exact date of when he asked me. I mean, it had just been conversations that had been coming up. Every time I'd make dinner, it'd be really hard for him to chew. He only had 1 tooth. So, I mean, I'd have to coordinate my dinners on what he could eat. So it would come up frequently in a lot of conversations. What are we going to do about your teeth? And he's like, well, I need my teeth
just a
done.
second. What are we going to do about your teeth? Keep going.
Right, and I said, well, we can research some things, but you're gonna have to pay for this on your own.
That didn't happen. That last phrase didn't happen. We'll research it and see. That happened.
Mm-hmm.
And who researched it?
He did.
Did you research where to go to have your teeth fixed?
No, actually, she...
Just
No, I didn't.
Who found the place to have your teeth fixed?
The plaintiff did.
Who made the appointment?
The plaintiff did.
Did she discuss with you? I mean, she had to take you with her. So I want you to tell me what the discussion was. She said, I'll make the appointment, and she made the appointment?
Yes, it was more like a surprise to me.
That's not true.
Just because.
Don't speak.
Just because I didn't,
I don't care what you thought. Did she say to you, I made an appointment for you to have your teeth done?
Yes.
Okay. Where were you working at the time?
Part-time at Cheesecake Factory.
Doing what?
Dishwashing.
And what kind of work does the plaintiff do?
Usually restaurant work, server.
Other than working at a restaurant, Ms. Parra, tell me what other source of income you have. You have 3 children. Does their father send child support?
At the time they were, and yes, I always had 2 jobs. I had sales jobs and
Sales?
restaurant. The restaurant was
And you get
tied.
child support.
Correct.
And how much child support do you get for the children?
It was around $1,200.
A month?
Yes.
When you were living with Mr. Jordan, living with him, in December of 2020, what kind of work was he doing?
He was unemployed at first, and then...
Unemployed? No, just in December, he was unemployed.
December...
2020.
I'm not sure. I can't keep track of all his jobs. He had so many.
Okay, so either he was unemployed or had a series of...
He was changing jobs left and right. So he was doing the micro wrestling, then he went to Cheesecake, then he went to another job.
His employment history, let us say, was sketchy.
I wouldn't say sketchy, just...
Well, what you go from job to job and sometimes you're employed. I would describe that as sketchy.
Sketchy, I guess, yeah. Yeah, trying to figure things out.
You were working 2 jobs to support you and your kids and was getting $1,200 child support. When he was living with you, was he paying any portion of the rent?
He was supposed to be.
No, that's not my question. You met in January. You moved in a few months later in December of 2020, which is almost a year later. Between that period of time, did he pay you any rent?
Not a set amount, no. He just gave me a little bit towards utilities.
The answer is no, he paid no rent.
No, he paid no rent.
Now, did he go with you to the dentist?
Yes. And he
And
made the appointment.
And were you told how much the dental work would be?
Yes.
How much?
Around $13,376.
Well, certainly, Mr. Jordan didn't have that.
No, so we were going to do some sort of financing, so.
You were living with him for a year. You know all the rules. You know the rules. You know
Didn't
he's
know
got
his credit
sketchy-
score.
What?
I didn't know his credit score.
You were living with him. You sound like an intelligent woman. You know that when you have a sketchy work history and are unemployed, and you knew that that was accurate, you don't have much of a credit history. So you signed on to allow him to get the dental work with your credit card. That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
Now, in what month and year did you separate?
In October of 2020.
Between December and October, when you separated, how many payments did Mr. Jordan make on the credit card for his dental work?
0.
How many payments did you make?
I have made every payment since.
Right.
Christina Parra claims former boyfriend Lorenzo Jordan owes for a dental bill. Lorenzo is countersuing for injuries resulting from an assault.
Now, after you went to the dentist, after you knew he had no credit, after you put it on your card, and after he made no payments on that card, in what month did you arrange for this trip to visit his ex-girlfriend and his child?
A couple months, maybe after.
A couple of months after he got teeth.
Possibly, yeah.
I know the story. I've been here forever. So after he got new teeth, looked a lot better.
And could eat
According
properly.
to you, you felt badly that he had not connected with his child. You felt badly. Clearly, he didn't feel badly. Now, am I reading these papers right? You reached out to the ex-girlfriend?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Not him. You reached...
He asked me to, yes.
Oh, did he?
Yes, he did. He wanted to see his
No,
child.
no. I want you to tell me exactly how that happened.
Yes.
That he asked you to reach out to his ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
I want to tell you, there's a certain common sense to life. And you're going to have to be really convincing to me, which I'm going to tell you you're not going to be able to do. that he really wanted to see his child, which is what you're going to tell me. And instead of him calling his ex-girlfriend and saying, listen, I know I've been less than a parent and I've been less than interested. I'm getting older. I sort of turned myself around. I would like to see our daughter, right? He asked you, his current girlfriend with who he's living, to call his ex-girlfriend and say, we would like to come out to visit. It's absolutely ridiculous that if he really wanted to see the child, he would have his current girlfriend make the call, which would just exasperate this woman no end, that now he's living with somebody. Who are you?
I'm the child's mother.
Yeah. Who called you?
She did for
Good.
him.
Sit.
For him.
Sit. And when you called her...
He tried to reach out to her first, and then she wouldn't.
When you called her, what did you say?
I said that Lorenzo's been trying to reach you, and that I know that you two are on bad terms. He has done some horrible things, hasn't paid his child support, still isn't current on his child support. He's trying to make things better. So, I'd like to try to step in between and help reunite a family. I know.
Okay.
I was just trying to be helpful.
So you were helpful, and that's the second loan you are alleging for all the money that was spent going to visit his child in Kansas, for which he really didn't need you, because he could have gone alone. Okay, give me the story that you claim you had a discussion with him about paying expenses for this trip.
So for this trip, he said that, as long as we use my car, he would help pay the gas, pay the food, and the hotel, and he would pay me back monthly. He would just give me money and pay me back, and that never happened. Along with the dental bill, which I have text messages saying he would pay me back everything that he owed me.
Okay, now I'd like to see the text messages.
Absolutely.
Okay, would you show this to Mr. Jordan? Okay.
I never said anything about a dental bill in this.
Yeah. There is discussion of a dental bill in there, not about anything else, but there is discussion of the dental bill, not the trip to Kansas.
Yeah, and the reason why I said that is because she said in this that, she still would want to be with me if I held up my end of the bargain on paying her back. And I was so concerned about getting back with her that I just said anything to get back with her.
Who cares?
I do.
I don't. It seems to me, Mr. Jordan, first of all, you said it, and it's in writing. Right now, do you still have the teeth that she's paying for?
Yes, I do.
Very nice. And are you living with her?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So you have the pleasure of the teeth, and she has the pleasure of paying the bill for your teeth.
A gift that she gave me.
Just not according to you. I would have said it was a gift, actually. I actually would have said, listen, lady, you want to be among those stupid women who loans a guy money and he doesn't pay her back, and he doesn't, I'm speaking, don't interrupt me, and then a month or two later lends him some more money that he doesn't pay her back, and he doesn't pay her back again for months, and still lives there, and then have a fight about something else and have a bad breakup. Well, you take that on the chin. You have to learn your lesson. Otherwise, you deplete your own bank account, and your kids are going to suffer because you have to pay this dental bill for teeth that you can't enjoy. So I would have dismissed her claim, actually, for the dental bill, because you lived together well after the dental work was completed, and you didn't pay for it. And you didn't pay 1 month, you didn't pay 2 months, you didn't pay 3 months, and then she took you on a vacation. Do you understand? You say in that text, and I don't care what reason you're going to give me, that I'm going to pay for the dental work. That's what you say.
I never said that I'm going to.
Oh, no, I didn't say that. You didn't say, I'm going to pay for the dental work.
Never said that.
You said, I'm going to get a check, I'm going to pay you what I owe you. And she's referring in the preceding paragraph to dental work.
No, that's an inference. She's not referring to that.
No, just a second. May I see that, please? I want to see if the word dental appears anywhere in there.
In my paragraph.
It doesn't have to be in your paragraph. It has to be in here. That's what the reference is about. Yeah. The only thing you should be doing is paying your dental bill. That's before. That she says. And you answer her, I'm going to hold up my end of the bargain, is what you mean, but you don't speak English here. And she says, well, I can't trust you. You have the money to pay me right now, and you're knit, which I suppose you mean not. Let me prove this to you. I don't want to use you. I want to pay you what I owe you, and when my check comes in, I'll get in that sober house. That's what you're referring to.
I wasn't referring to a dental bill.
Well, what money?
Just
what money were you referring to?
About rent. About rent. That's what I was talking about. I wasn't talking about a dental bill.
Well, she was talking about a dental bill, and that's what you responded to. So I don't have to even go into this trip, which I would have dismissed because that's your problem. You were curious. So, but the dental bill is well over $13,000. Now you have a counterclaim.
Yes, I do.
And that's an interesting counterclaim. You had a physical fight. You allege in this physical fight that Ms. Parra assaulted you so badly that you had to be in the hospital. I want you to tell me about that.
Yes.
Christina Parra is accusing former boyfriend Lorenzo Jordan of refusing to pay his dental bill and travel costs.
Now, we're now on your counterclaim.
And the reason why she said she was getting child support is because she no longer has her kids because the incident happened in front of her kids.
Just a minute, would you tell me about?
So the night we were talking, we were drinking.
Give me a month, day, and year.
June 30th, 2020. Okay. We were arguing and going back and forth, and I wasn't paying attention.
Just a second. Had you both been drinking?
Yes, we were.
And you were arguing back and forth about what?
We argued so much that I wouldn't even know what it was about.
Okay. Do you remember what the argument was about?
Yes, because I have a police report.
I'd like to see it, please.
Absolutely.
And the police report...
Shh. I can read. Okay, this is what I gather from reading the police report. On the 20th of June, the two of you were clearly blotzo drunk and behaving in a loud and boisterous manner, and somebody else called the police. Not the two of you, not either of the two of you.
I called the police because my head was leaking blood.
Nobody else had called the police, not a neighbor?
Probably so, because it was...
Probably so, right.
But the reason why they came was because of me.
I don't know if that's the reason that they came because of you. Clearly, you had had some kind of confrontation with neighbors before because this was not a first time that the two of you were blotto and making a lot of noise. That's what I get from the police report. And it's clear from the police report, Ms. Parra, that you were uninjured. You had a slight scratch on your chest, according to the arresting officer, according to the police officer, and a scratch on your hand, neither of which you wanted filmed. You gave me the police report. Mm-hmm. Right.
It says laceration.
And then the officers tried to calm things down, told you to both be quiet. He was taken to the hospital by ambulance, I assume, because his head was bleeding because you had hit him over the head with a speaker.
In self-defense?
Yeah. I don't think it was self-defense, but you would hit him over the head with a speaker because the two of you were blotto drunk.
Self-defense. Look at me.
I didn't ask you a question.
Okay.
There's no question before you.
Yes.
Perfect. After he was taken away, you continued to behave in a loud and belligerent way and open up the window from upstairs.
I believe it's two different police reports.
They are two different police reports. Mm-hmm. And according to the police report, someone out of one of those windows upstairs, so either it was you or a neighbor, but someone there threw a lit firework out of the window, and it landed outside and went off, and you were continuing to be loud. So they called social services because they feared for your 3 children who were in the house. How old are your children?
15, 13, and 8.
And they removed the children.
They have, because of
they
behavior.
Removed the children.
Yes.
And that was in June of 2020.
No.
What day?
October.
October what?
October 6th.
So are you telling me that they didn't remove the 3 children that night just for their safety?
No.
Oh, not what I'm reading here. Let's say that's true. So they conducted a hearing in family court?
Yes.
And you testified?
Yeah. No, I did not testify against myself. No.
You didn't testify?
Nope. My lawyer advised me not to.
Was there a criminal proceeding pending against you?
There is not. No.
Was there?
No.
Well, then your lawyer can't tell you not to testify against yourself. Lawyer said you don't have a case, maybe, but there was no criminal proceeding pending, so you can't take the Fifth Amendment. You didn't commit a crime, according to you, and you had never been arrested for assault. Is that right? Assaulting him. Okay. So the children are now in the custody of who?
Their father.
And that is as a result of a court order?
Yes.
And he did testify?
Who?
Their father?
No. I don't think you're understanding what kind of court it was. There was no criminal charges.
I'm not talking about criminal court. I'm talking about family court.
Family court, yes. So they...
You mean if the judge just says, I think
No, they
that
talked to
they
the
should...
children. They
What?
talked to the children, and they took the facts of what you have in your hand there, the police report.
Just a second, are you telling me that the judge didn't appoint a law guardian for the 3 children?
Yes, he did.
Of course! I was in family court a quarter of a century.
Yes,
The 3
absolutely.
children were represented by counsel. Either the children, the older ones, testified, or counsel for the children reported to the court that they had interviewed the children and the children wished to remain with their father because their mother is a nut.
Yes.
Do I look like I need any help from you?
Sorry.
It was based on his toxic behavior.
Her
took them.
codependency.
I don't care. I'd like to see your hospital report.
This is just my...
Just let me look at it. Maybe you can gather, but I'm not loving either one of you. This is a discharge. Well, this doesn't help me at all. It doesn't tell me what you were there for. Nothing. It says discharge summary, general, no acute distress, awake. Well, sir, you're asking this court to give you $5,000 on something that doesn't tell me anything. You could have been admitted for a gallbladder attack.
No. The police report does...
No. Sir, pay attention. You want $5,000, you go to a little trouble and ask North Shore System to get you a copy of your medical records so I can read them.
Yes.
Well, you didn't. You didn't. This is not evidence. It doesn't tell me anything. You could have been admitted there for a splinter in your finger. Would you return this to him, please? Thank you very much. Mr. Jordan, you're going to pay for your own teeth that you smile with and eat with. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. Your counterclaims dismissed. We're finished.
Court adjourned.
Well, she hit me over the head and caused severe injury to my brain.
If somebody's being abusive, stick with the order of protection. Don't drop it.
Toxic and very codependent relationship.
I just tried to help somebody, and in the long run, I lost my children for it.
Justice wasn't served.
So I've learned a lot of things since being here, legal issues, legal concerns, but also social issues and social norms. And one of the things I've learned is never lend a significant other money without a written loan agreement, because we've seen how they turn badly far too often.
You're right, and I especially wouldn't lend a boyfriend money who didn't have a job.
Michelle Pack is suing her hairstylist, Yoon Lim, and the owner of the salon, Soon Lee, for an assault.
Court come to order.
Be seated, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 1141, Pack versus Lim and Lee.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Pack, it is your claim the defendant, Miss Lim, assaulted you.
Yes.
In a beauty salon.
Yes.
You are the owner of the store?
본인께서 주인 되십니까?
Yes.
Yes.
And you, sir, what is your last name?
My last name is Kim, K-I-M.
Mr. Kim, you are an interpreter.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Then stand in the middle of them, would you? Thank you. Now, how long has Miss Lim been working for you, sir?
미스 림이 본인의 가게에서 일한 지가 얼마 정도 기간이 됐어요?
1년 한 10개월 정도 됐어요.
For approximately 1 year and 10 months.
Miss Pack, you had been a client of Miss Lim's before.
Yes.
For how long?
3 months or so.
What kind of work does she do for you?
A hairstylist.
It is your claim that Miss Lim assaulted you.
Yes.
Caused you serious physical injury. Miss Lim says that it was you who assaulted her, and she's counterclaiming. Each one of you is requesting that this court award $10,000 for that assault. When did this alleged assault take place?
On July 30th, Friday evening.
Of this year?
Yes.
You had an appointment with Miss Lim?
Yes, Your Honor.
What time?
4:45.
You arrived at the location of this salon. You had been there at least...
Several times.
Several times. Arrived at 4:45. You had never had any trouble with Miss Lim before.
Correct.
Now I'd like you to tell me exactly what happened when you arrived.
Well, when I had arrived, it was actually about 4:50 to be exact.
So you arrived a little late?
Yes, I was 5 minutes late. However, look at the salon, it's clear. So you could actually look inside the salon. And she was actually working on a client already at the time. So, I'm very flexible just because of...
Don't tell me how flexible you are. I don't want to go into any tributaries. You got there 5 minutes late.
Yes.
You didn't go in.
I didn't go in.
You went downstairs.
Yes.
That's what you say. What did you do downstairs?
To get cough drops from the...
So you went to a store and you got some cough drops or whatever else you bought there.
Cough drops.
And you had to pay for them?
Yes.
How much time did that take?
1 to 2 minutes.
No. Never 1 to 2 minutes.
They close at 4:55.
No place closes 4:55, Miss Pack. 4:55 is a peculiar time. I'm
They close...
old. Older by the minute. I never knew a store that closed at 4:55. They close 5 o'clock. That's a possibility. So you got to your appointment late. You didn't check in with the defendant. You went downstairs. You got some cough drops. What time did you get upstairs?
4:53.
And how did you know it was 4:53?
Because the pharmacy, they told me they have to close.
Don't tell me what the pharmacy told you.
But it is the fact.
I want to tell you something. So far, I'm not following your story like I believe it. I'm getting a twitch. So you came late to your appointment. That's the bottom line. You came late to your appointment.
Yes.
And when you went upstairs, was the defendant waiting for you?
No.
What was she doing?
She was still working on the client.
Okay. Miss Lim, when Miss Pack came in, were you working on another client?
자기 도착했을 때 본인께서 다른 손님의 머리를 하고 있었습니까?
No,
No.
What were you doing?
뭘 하고 계셨어요?
I was eating at the table.
Not true.
Approximately what time did Miss Pack come in for her 4:45 appointment?
4시 45분 예약 시간에 몇 시에 이분이 들어왔어요?
I remember that she came after 5.
Okay. And you were eating?
본인은 이제 뭐 식사하고 있었고요.
Yes.
So you came into the shop around 5 o'clock.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, you came into the shop around 5 o'clock. Whether it was 4:53, 4:54, 5 to 5, 5 o'clock, she said 5 after 5. I'm telling you, you got it. For my purposes, you got there at 5 o'clock. Go ahead.
I was there at 4:53 with my mom in heaven, watching down on me.
Just tell me what happened.
I walked in there. She was still working on the client, but I patiently waited because,
Don't tell me why. You patiently waited, and?
She was still working on a client.
And?
And then after she was done with the client, she demanded me, she ordered that I wait at the salon 30 minutes while she go picks up her son.
Tell me what she said to you.
She said, I have to go pick up my son, so you have to stay here 30 minutes, is the way that she spoke to me.
Okay, and what happened next?
I said, but my appointment was at 4:45. And she said, well, I thought you'd flake.
Okay, and?
Those were her words.
Okay, I thought you flaked. And then what happened?
And then I was like, I never flaked on you. And she was like, yes, you did. So it was her word against my word.
So just a second. I never flaked on you. Yes, you did. Back and forth. I flaked. I didn't flake. And then what happened?
Then she went to the table and started eating cup ramen noodles when she told me I had to wait for her to go pick up her son.
So now, just a second. So now she went over to the table.
Yes.
And sat
eating.
down and started eating noodles.
Yes.
So did you walk over to the table?
No.
So you stayed where?
Right in the middle of the salon.
Okay, so you're in the middle of the salon, but she left and went to sit at the table to eat her noodles.
Which was like approximately from like here to like at the end of this.
Okay, that's 10, 15 feet. Okay, so she's 10 or 15 feet away from you. What happens next? And let's get to this.
Claims her hairstylist, Yoon Lim, assaulted her in the salon. Yoon is countersuing, claiming Michelle attacked her first.
What happens next? And let's get to this.
The salon owner, Mr. Lee, he said, oh, she's been so hungry because she was busy all day long.
So he said to you?
Yes.
And how far away from you was Mr. Lee?
He was right behind her.
Was he sitting or
No,
standing?
Standing.
Michelle Pack claims her hairstylist, Yoon Lim, assaulted her in the salon. Yoon is countersuing, claiming Michelle attacked her first.
What happens next? And let's get to this.
The salon owner, Mr. Lee, he said, oh, she's been so hungry because she was busy all day long.
So he said to you?
Yes.
And how far away from you was Mr. Lee?
He was right behind her.
Was he sitting or
No,
standing?
Standing.
And what happened next?
And then I said, how could you do this to me? I said, I set up an appointment at 4:45, and I was patient enough. The fact that you actually even were working on another client, and, I didn't even complain. And first of all, you want me to wait for you for 30 minutes, and then now you're eating? This is so inappropriate.
I was
speechless.
And you were standing 10 to 15 feet away from where she was sitting, eating her noodles. What happened next?
She just ran towards me, banged my face, and she got on top of me, and she was just...
Okay, so she got up from the table.
Yes.
She came over to you and started to assault you.
Yes.
No.
So I was lying on my back.
Just a second. And you fell on your back.
Yeah, she punched me down and she was beating me up.
She was punching you?
She was sitting on me, beating me up.
Okay. And
I was trying to get myself up because I was on the floor, and she had, the salon aprons. I was trying to hold on to it to get myself up because.
So you were pulling on her apron to get yourself up.
Yeah, because she wouldn't get up.
So she was on top of you. You're pulling on her apron to pull yourself up. But if you're on the ground and if you're pulling her apron, you're pulling her towards you.
No, I'm trying to get myself up because she's so heavy. She wouldn't get off of me. I don't know. I don't fight.
Keep going. Keep going.
So I was pulling on the apron to get myself up because she wouldn't get off of me. She was hitting on me. And, I was lying down like this while she was with my legs bent like this. She was sitting on me, beating me up like this from my face all the way to my ribs, everywhere, all over my body. And I have pictures to prove it. And I'm still in pain.
And then what happened?
And then I was able to finally get up, to call the police. Because that's what I'm going to do. If someone's going to assault me, I'm calling the police. As soon as I tried to call the police, they said 911. I said, yes. And I told them what happened. And they said, where's the location? And they said, what's the suite number? And I said, it's the second floor. And I don't know the suite number. And they said, we need the suite number. We need the suite number. So I said, okay. And then I was running. And then I ran it literally from here to here. I ran and I was trying to pull, and then he actually ran out to the door so that I couldn't give him the suite number. And I was trying to look like this, and then he actually pulled the door so I couldn't see the suite number. He pulled it towards from the outside. He locked me inside. He locked me inside.
Just a second.
Of the salon.
So what you're telling me is he ran past you.
Yes.
He ran past you.
He ran, but before he did that, he told her, you call 911 too.
That's okay. He got out before you and locked you into the salon.
After he ordered her to call 911.
And he told her to call 911.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And the police came.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I'd like your version of what happened.
본인께서 이제 본인의 상황을 설명해 주세요. 영어로.
She came in, according to you, 5:05. You were reading noodles.
본인은 라면을 먹고 있었어요. 그 다음에 이제 어떻게 됐어요?
미셸한테 얘기했습니다. 당신 늦게 왔습니다.
I said to Michelle, you came late.
그래서 나는 5시 반 전에는 아기를 픽업해야 되니까 잠깐만 기다려주세요. 라고
And
얘기했습니다.
I asked her to briefly wait because I have to go and pick up my child before 5:30.
Okay.
그리고 저희 아이가 있는 프리스쿨은 왔다 갔다 8분 거리에 있습니다.
Where my child is at, the preschool, to and from, it takes altogether 8 to 10 minutes.
Okay, so you said you have to wait. Go ahead. What happened next?
기다려야 된다고 이제 말씀하셨거든요.
나는
이제 어떻게 됐어요?
서비스를 받기 싫으면 너무 늦게 왔고 시간이 안 맞으니까 서비스를 받기 싫으면 가도 된다고 했더니
I said, since you arrived late and because it's going to be late. So if that's too late for you, then you don't have to receive my service today.
And what happened next?
그다음에 어떻게 됐어요?
She 그리고 저는 저를 방어하기 위해 밀었습니다.
So in order for me to defend myself, I then pushed her back.
And
미셸 팍은 높은 신발을 신어서 뒤로 넘어졌고
Michelle Park was wearing high heels, so she fell backward.
미셸 팍은 높은
Don't speak.
말하지 마세요.
이렇게 일어나서
And
뭐 하는 건지 지금 What's she doing?
And I was like swaggering like this, and then I got up and I said,
Just a second. Did she fall down and you fell with her?
이 여자분이 넘어지고 본인도 같이 넘어졌어요? 본인도 같이 넘어졌습니까?
Let the record reflect that the witness is suggesting that she fell over on top of her when she pushed her when the plaintiff was holding on to her robe.
옆으로
I
넘어졌습니다.
fell to my side.
It fell to his side.
네.
네, 옆으로 넘어졌어요.
And then what happened?
네, 이미 그거는 제가
Then what
받았습니다.
happened?
그다음에 어떻게 됐어요?
그리고 미셸 팍이 소리 지르고
And then Michelle Park started to yell,
Oh my God, she hit me like
oh my God, she hit me.
And then?
screaming.
And screaming.
And then what happened?
그다음에 어떻게 됐어요?
And then she called to 911.
And then she called 911.
Okay, at any time did you hit her?
자, 어느 때를 막론하고 본인께서 이분을 때린 적 있어요?
아니요.
No.
Did she hit you?
자, 이 여자분이 본인을 와서 그때 때렸어요?
아니요.
No.
No. So you had no marks
그러니까
on you from her.
이 여자로부터 본인께서 몸에 어떤 자국 본인께서 생긴 것은 없다 이거죠?
Yes or no?
저
You had no marks.
I have no marks.
저 따귀를 때렸어요.
But then I was slapped after.
Tell me when you were slapped.
자, 언제 따귀를 맞았는지를 말씀해 주세요.
제가 둘이 넘어지고 나서 일어섰고 저 여자는 911 전화했고 저는 문 앞에 있었을 때 와서 제 따귀를 때렸어요.
We both fell down, she backward, me forward to my side. And then once I got up, she was already calling 911. And when I approached the front door area, that's the time when she slapped my face.
Okay.
Michelle Pack is accusing her hairstylist, Yoon Lim, of assaulting her in the salon. Yoon says she was the one who was assaulted.
Now, who's going to show me a police report?
자, 폴리스 리포트 가지고 있어요? 들어올리세요.
Okay. The officers observed a small cut on Miss Pack's right middle finger, and they said they took a photograph of that. Right here. This was the photograph that the officer took of your injury. This is what the officer said. He said he observed a small cut right here. That's what he observed. Now, both parties, when the officers responded, did not request any treatment, any transport to any hospital. You both told stories. The story, what?
I did.
Did you go to the hospital?
No, but I asked.
Just a second. Did you go to the hospital is my question.
I went to my doctor.
Okay. I would like to see your doctor's record of your visit. But I want you to notice, Miss Pack, that at no time during this police interview did you report any injury other than the cut to your finger. At no point do you tell any officer who responded to the scene that you were repeatedly, as you told me, punched in the face, punched in the body. At no point when the police arrived do you tell them that. What you told them is, and the police said, we took a photograph of it, that you had a little cut on one of your fingers. I'm just telling you that that's what it says.
Because I was wearing yoga pants and I still have mark on my
knee. Excuse me. It also has a photograph of what looks like you.
Yes.
And the police took this?
Yes.
As soon as they arrived?
Yes.
And what is that a picture of? Is that an arm or a leg? I can't tell what that's a picture of.
Excuse me.
Show it to her. And give me those. I want to look at them now. Okay.
That's my knee that I'm still having problems with.
This happened on July 30th. This says reason for the appointment on August 2nd, patient was assaulted on Saturday and having other problems. And there's a follow-up on August 24th for another appointment. Look, always get down to it. This is on August 24th. What's the name of the lawyer that you contacted?
Robert.
And on what date did you contact Robert?
On July 30th.
How do you know him?
I've known him for 15 years.
So you called a friend of yours who's a lawyer, and he told you to get in touch with a doctor.
Well, I made my own
you called
decision
him.
to
You called
contact
him.
the doctor.
Okay. No, patient has already been in conversation with a lawyer. Damage seems more psychological and mental trauma than physical, and it goes into a lot of other things that I don't think I have to go into now at this point, and they deal with psychological things rather than physical things that your doctor is referring to. Okay. You have any other medical reports that you want me to look at?
The x-ray, because...
Just a second. You went for an x-ray on September 21st. X-ray, the right knee.
Yes, and then I spoke with my doctor.
Don't tell me what you spoke to your doctor about. You had an x-ray months later that showed nothing.
I called to make the appointment for the x-ray.
All right, we're done here.
When I was trying...
I'm done. Did you seek any medical treatment as a result of being slapped?
여기에 따고 맞아가지고 병원 가서 의료 치료 받으신 거 있어요?
아니요.
No.
And other than these notes that you gave me from your doctor who was treating you for a variety of problems, do you have any other medical records for me to look at?
Yes.
What other medical records do you have me to look at?
I have photos which are...
Nope, not interested. Medical records. I saw the police report. I saw the doctor's notes. Now I want to see medical records. If you have none, I'm ready to rule.
Just the recent conversation with my doctor 2 days ago.
Very good.
For MRI.
Your claim is dismissed. Your counterclaim is dismissed. We're finished here. Thank you very much.
Court is adjourned.
So traumatic. I've never even seen this. I mean...
전 더 이상 저 여자가 저한테 협박 안 하고 폭력적인 행사를 안 했으면 좋겠고요.
I wish that the lady no longer have those kind of behaviors and aggressive actions against anyone.
I grew up in Georgia. The people with manners.
저는 저 여자 때문에 체포를 당하고
Because of her, I was once arrested at the scene.
Never in my life had a hairstylist attack me.
전 너무 억울했어요.
So I was being wrongfully accused of this.
Aside the fact that they tag teamed on me, what I'm upset about is the fact that they lied to the police.
서로 리포트하기로 해서 풀어졌고요.
The police officer said that we can, on our own, individually file a report against each other.
Never ever go again, and I want to tell everyone never to go to here.
너무 감사합니다.
I'd like to thank this court for this.
You remember criminal law. An assault is when they have physical injury. And it can't be just a little cut. You don't know where that came from. Certainly from what the plaintiff was describing, she would have been battered and bruised. She was hit on the face.
Black eye.
Because on the law, in order to establish an assault is an unlawful touching that causes physical
serious bodily
injury. And neither one of them sustained it. The plaintiff, I think, was late.
Kendra Dubois is suing her sister, Renee Peak, for the title to her car, nursing services, and lost wages.
Court come to order.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case number 1114, Dubois versus Peak.
Thank you. Ms. Dubois, this is your sister?
Yes, ma'am.
This case has many, many parts to it.
Yes, ma'am.
Let us deal with a car first. You say that several years ago, I assume, or in the past couple of years, you were having difficulty with either an ex-husband or soon-to-be ex-husband.
Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
It was in January. It started January 2020.
Is he now your ex-husband?
He's soon to be. We're in the process of getting a divorce.
And during this nasty period, you had a car that was in your name.
Yes, ma'am.
That I assume you felt was your car.
Yes, ma'am.
And you didn't want your soon-to-be ex-husband to have any right or interest in that car.
Oh, no, ma'am. He was vandalizing the car.
Did you keep the car?
Yes, ma'am.
So whether he was vandalizing it or not, you didn't want him to have any interest in the car because you put it in your sister's name.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's be very real, okay? The physical car never went to your sister.
No, ma'am.
Point is, you didn't want him to have any interest in the car.
Well, I moved to a different state. So I was in a different state. So anything that had to do with Florida, she was kind of my support system and was handling any affairs I had in Florida.
Ms. Dubois, this face has been sitting for 4 decades on a bench. I've done matrimonial work for 25 of those years. So I don't want to hear a lot of gobbledygook. When people are in the middle of a divorce, the only reason they transfer title to somebody else is because they want their soon-to-be ex-spouse not to have any interest in that property. Period. There's no other reason.
We don't have any issue with property and stuff like that between us. Like whatever was in my name was mine and whatever was in his name was his.
Then what's the issue with the title to the car? For whatever reason, you put the title to the car in your sister's name, you're still not divorced from your husband. Why do you want it back?
It's my car.
Well, I want to know why, Mr. Bois. I know you think you're smarter, but I want you to give me a reason that she understands.
Okay, well, I wasn't in Florida, and my car was registered in Florida, and I worked COVID. So I didn't want to have my car registered in another state that I wasn't going to be living in. I wanted it to stay, registered in Florida, and I wasn't there to handle it at the time.
All right, so let me read to you what you wrote in your complaint.
Yes, ma'am.
It says, in January, I had an unfortunate situation with my ex-husband, so I asked Rena to put the title to my vehicle in her name. That's what you wrote. That's what you swore to in your complaint. Do you want to read the first line?
Yes, ma'am. I just kind of simplified it.
Just a second. That's what you said. You didn't say I was living in Florida, then I was going to move someplace else. I wanted my business there. That's what you wrote. You want to make sure that you wrote it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, what kind of unfortunate business were you having with your ex-husband, which is the reason that you give here for putting the title to the car in your sister's name? That's the reason that you give, Ms. Dubois. Tell me. Sarah's waiting.
I had to move away from Florida, and so she was my only support system in Florida, so I asked her would she handle my business, like she was paying my mortgage and anything that I had, like business-wise in Florida until I could...
Well, just a second. You mean she was paying it or you were sending her money?
I was sending her money to pay it. She was handling like all my affairs, anything that had to do with Florida while I wasn't there.
Was there something wrong with you?
No, ma'am.
So you were sending money out of state from your bank account. Was it from a joint bank account or an individual bank account?
It was an individual.
But that's being done for a reason because, for instance, I live in Naples, Florida. I come to California to work. I still carry my checkbook with me. I have my paperwork with me. I pay my bills from wherever I am. I'm a lot older than you are, and I don't need a conservator to pay my bills. So let's start out with the fact that I don't believe you. Let's start out with the fact that the reason you put the title in your sister's name is because you didn't want any issues with it with your soon-to-be ex-husband. But, Miss Peak, don't speak, because we already are not, well, I don't know about you, but I'm already not crazy about you. Coming to you. Do you remember when your sister asked you to put the title to the car in your name?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you take the title out, please?
This right here.
And would you hand that to Kevin? And Miss Peak, do you remember the conversation that you had with your sister when she asked you to put the title in her name and signed it over to you?
Mm-hmm.
Not mm-hmm is not an answer. That's a yes.
Yes, ma'am. She called me and asked me, well, she was going through it with him, and she called me and asked me if I would put the car in my name because she was afraid that he might try to do something to her and find the car. So she wanted me to put it in my name so that he wouldn't be able to find her.
Find her?
Yes.
Great. And it was your understanding that you were supposed to return the title to the car to her when she asked you?
Yes.
Good. Sign it.
Okay.
That takes care of one issue.
Sign your name right here and print your name at the bottom. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Now you have your title back.
Mr. Renee Peak owes for nursing services. Renee is countersuing for a broken laptop.
Okay. The next thing you're suing her for is non-payment of nursing services.
Yes, ma'am.
And what I understand is that you are a registered nurse.
Yes, ma'am.
And that your sister was having some liposuction surgery, and she lives in Florida, and you live in Texas.
No, ma'am, I was in Virginia at the time.
And working in Virginia.
Yes, ma'am.
According to you, she asked you to come down to assist her when she was leaving the surgery, and you did. And you told her that you would charge her $400.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is half your normal rate.
Yes, ma'am.
You drove 10 hours from Virginia to Florida.
Yes, ma'am.
The surgery was where?
In Miami, Florida.
In Miami, Florida.
And you live in Jacksonville?
Yes.
So your sister traveled from Virginia to Jacksonville to pick you up?
Yes.
And when she picked you up, your husband was going to join you?
Yes.
Your sister says that initially she wasn't thrilled about that your husband was joining. That had not been previously discussed with her. Now, did you tell her that your husband was going to be on the trip?
I told her that I needed her to come with me to help assist me with my lipo after the surgery. I told her that my husband would be there to help do most of it, but I needed her to help me like take vitals and stuff like that right there to make sure I didn't catch fever and I wasn't getting really sick.
Judge, that's not true.
When did she call you?
We never discussed him going. I only saw that he was going once I arrived to their residence.
Tell me about the conversation, your version of the conversation that you had.
Okay, in February, she called me and asked me will I provide the services for her. I was supposed to provide the entire services because she couldn't leave the surgery center without having a licensed caregiver for the first 24 hours. He's a mechanic, so there's no way he could even provide medical services for her.
Okay, you understood that you were having this surgical procedure done in a center, not in a hospital?
Yes, it was in a center.
And you could not be discharged from the center without...
I'm sorry, ma'am, but that is not true.
Just a second. I didn't ask you a question. I mean, it's very easy. You get the name of the surgical center, you put in a call. Is it true that you needed someone to sign you out, a nurse to sign you out of the surgical center?
No, I didn't need a nurse. I just needed someone to sign me out.
Okay, whatever. You did get in the car with your sister and her husband.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was an unpleasant trip?
Yes, ma'am. The argument started the minute we got in the car.
So from Jacksonville, you went to the center in Miami, and then you went to an Airbnb for 2 days.
Yes, ma'am.
And during those 2 days, so then you're close to the surgical center in case there's an emergency.
Yes, ma'am.
I assume that that's the reason.
Yes, ma'am.
And you did, in fact, stay there with her.
Yes, ma'am.
Was there ever an agreement for you to stay with her in Jacksonville, or only at the Airbnb?
No, ma'am.
Following the surgery?
Only the Airbnb to complete the two 24-hour shifts that she needed.
Tell me when you discussed payment for those.
I told Renee, she asked me about payment. I told her that I would...
When is the question?
Oh, this is February 20 when she contacted me about it. So I told her that I would charge her half of my service fee plus the travel.
Did you tell her what that fee was?
Initially, I did not tell her what the service fee was. But when we got to the Airbnb, me and her had a conversation and we discussed what it would be.
Tell me, when you got there before the surgery?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Tell me what the conversation was at the Airbnb.
The conversation was that I wouldn't be charging her the full amount of whatever my services fees was, that she would just be responsible for the $400 for the two 24-hour shifts.
Okay. Now, that was a mistake. You do understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Because if you're a professional, before you embark upon a contract with somebody, and you did when you left your house,
yes, ma'am,
you have to tell the other side what the cost is going to be, or if there's a cost involved.
Yes, ma'am.
So you didn't discuss that with her until you got to Miami.
Yes, ma'am.
So you'd already been through this unpleasant car ride with the husband, right? So at this unpleasant time, you're having a conversation with her about what you're going to charge her.
Well, it really wasn't unpleasant between me and her at first. It was basically him with the agitation and the arguments and tantrums.
Who was he having an argument with?
With Renee. It was kind of, the arguments were really between them two at first, but me kind of being the third wheel, it was like I'm constantly in the middle of the argument, trying to keep everybody calm. You know
what were they arguing about?
Just anything random. There's a shoe on the floor, it's an argument. You know what I mean? Like, it was just random arguments, like, constantly the whole time.
How long have you been a registered nurse?
I just got my license last year.
I assume that as part of your training, you knew how to take blood pressure.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if you got training in wound dressings. What else did your sister do for you?
She took blood pressures. She took my my temperature. Okay, she came in and checked my temperature regularly, and she gave me my pain meds around the clock so that the pain wouldn't wear off and I would be in pain. And she helped me, like she made a few meals for me, and just basically that was it. I had like little incisions like here and here and here around the back, and they drain out. So it really didn't need really a lot of padding, just like, because it's supposed to, all the fluid's just supposed to come out.
Who checked those drains?
She checked my drains, but she was against me putting sanitary napkins, pads on my drains, but the plastic surgery people told me I can.
Don't tell me what anybody told you.
Sorry.
She checked your drains.
Yes.
And she did all of that for 2 days. It's
Yes,
not an
ma'am,
answer.
I'm sorry.
Did you ever have a discussion with her about how you were going to compensate her for the 10-hour drive to you or going with you to Miami and taking care of you? Did you ever have a discussion with her about compensation?
Yes, ma'am. I asked. I'm sorry.
When and where?
We were texting, and I asked her how much would she charge me for my services to come there and help me out doing my nursing services to Miami. I have text messages here.
I'd like to see them.
Where she told me that she's doing my care for free, and I told her that I would give her something anyway.
Okay.
And then...
Just a second. Okay, I'd like to see the rest of the emails.
And my husband, he also helped me with...
I don't care about your husband.
But this is the other in the contract that she sent me, and it's saying that the services were free.
Yes, but you told her you were going to give her some money.
Right. Yes, ma'am. I told
Just a
her.
second. You told her you were going to give her some money.
Yes, ma'am.
Sabrina, that I would provide.
Yes, she did.
Out. Be quiet. Out.
Claims her sister, Renee Peak, owes for the nursing care she provided. Renee says Kendra broke her laptop after an argument.
Okay. You paid $100.
I gave her $100 travel to come down with me.
Okay.
And then I also sent her another $100 during the stay.
So far, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
Okay. You said to her, I'm not charging you, and she says, I'm going to give you something anyway.
Yes, ma'am. So when we got to the Airbnb, that's when I told her what I would be charging.
Well,
would be the full fee.
that's too late. That's actually too late. You have your car title back?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you've already traveled from Virginia to Jacksonville to Miami in an unpleasant ride. That is not the time to tell your sister while you're there that you're going to charge her $400. You tell her before you leave Virginia, because you say, I'm not charging you. And she said, I'm going to give you something. She did give you something. She gave you $100. She gave you $100 to get there, and she gave you another $100. Whatever happened with your brother-in-law is not my problem. Now let's get to the computer. That's your counterclaim. It is your claim that your sister broke your computer.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you there when it...
Kendra Dubois claims her sister, Renee Peak, owes for the nursing care she provided. Renee says Kendra broke her laptop after an argument.
Okay, you paid $100.
I gave her $100 travel to come down with me.
Okay.
And then I also sent her another $100 during the stay.
So far, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
Okay. You said to her, I'm not charging you, and she says, I'm going to give you something anyway.
Yes, ma'am. So when we got to the Airbnb, that's when I told her what I would be charging.
Well,
would be the full fee.
that's too late. That's actually too late. You have your car title back?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you've already traveled from Virginia to Jacksonville to Miami in an unpleasant ride. That is not the time to tell your sister while you're there that you're going to charge her $400. You tell her before you leave Virginia, because you say, I'm not charging you. And she said, I'm going to give you something. She did give you something. She gave you $100. She gave you $100 to get there, and she gave you another $100. Whatever happened with your brother-in-law is not my problem. Now let's get to the computer. That's your counterclaim. It is your claim that your sister broke your computer.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you there when it happened?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That was in Jacksonville on your return from Miami?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let me hear.
When we pulled back up to the house, they were doing a lot of arguing on the way back.
Who was doing arguing?
Kendra and my husband. She was trying to fight him and threatening him on the way back from Miami. When we got to the house, she told him, she said, you just wait right there. I got somebody coming for you. So she started getting all irate. She jumped out of the car. She said somebody was coming there to fight my husband. So I walked inside and I told my son here, Gregory, to go outside and get my belongings out of the car because his aunt was acting all crazy and stuff outside because she was arguing with my husband.
She said they were arguing?
Yes.
Okay.
And then when my son, he came, and then when he walked outside, she was throwing all of the stuff out of the car. And then she picked up my laptop and she threw it out on the ground and it shattered and broke my laptop.
I don't want to listen to you right now. Did you see her throw your laptop?
Yes, ma'am, I did, and my son also saw it.
I don't know what he saw until he tells me. Tell me your first name.
Gregory.
You remember the date that your mother came home from the hospital?
May 27th.
You remember what time of day they came home from Miami?
Yes, ma'am. I remember it was around 4:50-ish, around 5 o'clock.
Who was in the house with you?
It was just me and my sisters and them.
Tell me what happened in the afternoon.
So basically, when they came back, it was the day of my graduation. So I was already trying to get a ride around to the theater where my graduation was being held.
You were graduating from?
High school.
What time was your graduation?
I had to be there around 5:30, 5:45.
Did you attend your graduation?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Did your mom go with you?
Yes, yes, ma'am. My dad dropped me off, and they had to come back at a later time because the graduates and the students and stuff like that had to be there early.
First.
Yes, ma'am.
So he drove you to graduation, came back, and picked up your mother.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened outside when they came home with your aunt.
Okay, so I was getting dressed at the time, and my mom walked in, and she was like, yeah, can you go get my stuff and my belongings from outside? Because, well, my aunt, she was, acting crazy or whatever. So I walked outside to go get it, and from the looks of it, she's getting her belongings out the car, and she intentionally picked up my mom's laptop, threw it on the ground. While following all of that happening, she threw out the rest of her belongings, as in her suitcase and her purse and stuff like that, out to the middle of the road.
When you say she threw her suitcase, did she open the suitcase and throw it out, or just threw the suitcase?
No, she took the whole suitcase out and she threw it. And she also picked up her laptop, intentionally threw it at the ground as well. And
did you say anything to your aunt?
I didn't say anything. I just went out there to retrieve the belongings out the middle of the road so they wouldn't be damaged further.
Who was she yelling at?
She was yelling and screaming at my dad because they were getting into it as they were pulling up to the house. But anything before they got to the house, I was not aware of.
What did you hear them say to each other when you got outside?
It was it's a lot of derogatory language.
Okay. Who retrieved your mother's things from the street?
Me and my sisters.
Who picked up the laptop?
I did.
Tell me what the damage was to the laptop.
The whole screen was broken. The back panel, where the screen and the bottom part comes together, it was coming apart from each other, separating.
Okay. Tell me what kind of laptop it was.
It was a MacBook.
Do you remember when your mother got it?
No, ma'am, I do not remember.
In January.
Do you have a receipt for it?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see it.
It's the receipt and then the insurance that I bought for it.
Did the insurance cover it?
It didn't cover it because I was locked out of the email, so I couldn't, at the time when the laptop was broken, I couldn't go back and find the email to get the insurance information. But the laptop winded up getting stolen when my house got broken into.
You mean after it was broken?
Yes, ma'am.
You bought the laptop for $400?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. Now, Mr. Barr, all I want you to do is to describe to me the scene when you and your sister and your brother-in-law came home to Jacksonville from Miami.
Yes, ma'am.
All I want you to do, that's all I want you to do, is to tell me your version of those events.
Yes, ma'am. When we arrived back to the house, when I got out of the car, her and Greg walked towards the front of the house. I went to the trunk and they had their bags packed on top of my bags. I picked up a suitcase that was on top of my bag, a big suitcase, and I threw it out of the car like it's just a suitcase. I never touched any other computer. I never touched any of that stuff that was in the trunk. I just lifted up what was on top of my stuff and took my stuff out and was cursing them out and got to my car.
Good. Great. On the counterclaim, judgment for the defendant. On the counterclaim in the amount of $400 for the computer. Thank you very much. You have the title to your car back. We're done.
Court is adjourned.
This is what I thought was going to happen. It was basically going to be a wash. I was going to get my car title and she was going to get paid for her computer.
She knew she broke my laptop. She should have just paid for it.
They're bums and they were trying to steal my car.
It's been too many issues and this right here was just the last straw.
At this point, we have no relationship. We'll never have a relationship.
It's time to just not deal with it anymore.
Sisters. Never were there such devoted sisters. You know, I actually don't think it was the sisters. I actually think it was the husband who was.
Carla Docious is suing her former boyfriend, David Murphy, for an unpaid loan.
Court come to order. All rise. Good morning, Judge. We have case 1021, Douglas versus Murphy.
Thank you. Be seated, please. Ms. Docious, what do you do for a living?
I'm an accounts receivable supervisor for an autistic center.
And how long have you been employed at the same company?
I've been employed there for 3 years. Prior to that, I was self-employed for 20.
Self-employed doing what?
I had a medical billing company.
What happened to that company?
My husband passed away, and one of my clients didn't pay me for a really long time, and so I had to re-enter the workforce to make sure that my child and I had insurance and whatnot.
And that was 3 years ago?
My husband passed away 7 years ago, but yes, 3 years ago I entered the workforce again.
When did you meet Mr. Murphy?
I went to high school with Mr. Murphy.
And you reconnected?
Yes, ma'am.
In what year did you reconnect?
In 2016.
Was it a business relationship that you had that turned into a social relationship?
No, it was the opposite. It was a social relationship that turned into a business/relationship.
And what kind of business was it?
Originally, we had started flipping houses, and we flipped one, and then it went south. So that was the intent, was flipping houses.
And in what year was that?
That was 2016, 17, and subsequently the house that we flipped sold in 18, so it was a long, drawn-out process.
And what did you buy the house for?
To flip.
I know, but
monetarily, it was $163,000.
And who was going to do the work on the house? Would that be the defendant?
It was both of us, in actuality, yes.
Who put in the cash to do the renovation? You did.
Mm-hmm.
How much?
$163,000.
So there was no mortgage?
No.
And what did the house sell for?
$257,000.
That's how you made a little money.
With the exception of what we put into it, yes.
Mm-hmm. How much did you put into it?
And materials and supplies, about $30,000.
Okay. Paid $163,000, put in $30,000, $193,000. You sold it for $257,000. So you cleared $64,000.
With the exception of having to pay him, that didn't include what I paid him.
Okay. Tell me what you paid him.
I paid him draws along the way.
How much?
Probably around.
Then you don't know the answer.
Okay. About $7,000.
How much were you paid just in addition to materials to do the work?
I was paid a total of $17,000 for labor, but that was not the agreement.
But you were paid
Yes.
$17,000 for labor.
Yes, Your Honor.
So that leaves, after she paid for materials and your labor, there was $47,000 left.
There was an additional payment to Mr. Murphy before the house sold of $9,000. In addition to what I had previously paid him, he agreed to finish the house. The house wasn't finished before it sold. He agreed to do the work. He never did the work. I shelled out $9,000 and he bailed. So.
Okay. I'm just trying to get to a net figure in this case because it is pertinent, because you allege a loan to him and she's got some cockamamie excuse, which I will get to in a minute. But so far I have $47,000. Now, do you acknowledge, Mr. Murphy, that you did not actually complete the labor on the house to make it turnkey for the people that moved in?
The house was turnkey when I left.
When you left?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so let us, for a moment, assume that there was $47,000 in profit. How are you supposed to split the profit, Mr. Murphy?
We agreed to a 60-40 split on the final sale price of the total profit.
Who got the 60?
She did.
And you got 40?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much did you receive?
$17,000.
Well, you said that was for your labor.
Like she indicated, she paid me in draws as we went. And we got to a certain point to where we couldn't work together anymore, and she cashed me out with the verbal agreement.
Okay, just a second.
Okay.
Did you ever have a written agreement?
Yes.
Can I see the written agreement?
She should have it.
She doesn't need it. You need it because it's part of your answer.
Okay, well.
No, she doesn't need it. What your answer is, she did in fact give me money, but she owed me money from an old house that we flipped that she didn't give me, so that we're even. And that's why this was not a loan, it was payback. She don't have to prove anything to me.
Okay.
Where's the contract? You don't have it.
No, I do not.
Okie dokie. That's very good. Now, sometime after this flipped house went south, or was it before, that you allege that you made a loan to him in the amount of $6,200?
It was after. It was March 13th, 2019.
Can you answer this for me? Why in the world, if this house went south and he didn't do what he was supposed to do, why in the world would you give him Because you say he said he needed a construction job, and in order to do the construction job, needed $6,200. Were you still seeing him socially?
We were seeing him.
Okay, that you have it. So I'm just trying to figure you out. The guy burned you in a deal. And then you started seeing him again. And after you started seeing him again, you loaned him $6,000 in 2019.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were involved in a social, intimate relationship with him. And I gather somehow you ascertained that he was seeing other people?
Yes, ma'am.
And in what year was that?
Pick one.
Pick any year.
Pick any year.
Well, then that makes you foolish.
It does, absolutely.
Okay. Then that makes you foolish.
Absolutely.
Okay, so in March 2019, you gave him $6,200.
Yes, ma'am.
You want to tell me why, Mr. Murphy, she gave you $6,200?
I requested it as a loan for materials on a project I was starting.
You requested it as a loan?
Yes, I did.
From her?
Yes.
Okay. And what were the terms of the loan?
To pay back the loan whenever I could, as soon as I got my first draw from the project.
And did you get a draw from the project?
Yes, I did.
Did you pay her back the
No,
loan?
I did not.
Why?
I never intended to pay her back.
Why?
Because she lied about the sale of the house, the price. I have it here and what it really sold for. She lied about it. She withheld funds that she was supposed to give me, and she never did it.
Okay. She says that she sold the house for $257,000.
Not true.
Okay. What's the address of the house?
2204.
May I see that, please? I want to give it to Sarah. See if she can find it for me. Would you do this for me? Verify this, that this was the sale price of the house?
And there were taxes taken out, Your Honor.
There's nothing on the table, madam.
According to Zillow, it did sell on March 30th, 2018 for $265,000.
Great, thank you. Okay, so Mr. Murphy, you have two problems, sir. First, you are absolutely correct. According to Zillow, the house sold for $8,000 more than what she just testified the house sold for. You're absolutely right. That would mean, sir, that you would be entitled to another $3,200. That's your 40% of $8,000. Did it have a broker when it sold?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if it sold for $265,000, so the broker also gets a fee, right?
I understand, yes.
So the $265,000 was not a net figure to her. It's the house was in her name. She had to pay either 4, 5, or 6% to the broker, right?
I understand that.
And then, I don't know in what state you live. What state do you live?
California.
California. In California, they have this system where you don't need an attorney to do a closing. The broker does the closing, so I understand. And you put money in escrow. And then there are taxes. So it's not even $3,200. At best, maybe it's $2,500 or $2,200. How do you justify asking for a loan for $6,200 with, according to you, no intention of repaying it, any part of it, when even if I were to believe your story, you were only entitled to a couple of $1,000s. What happened to the rest?
Well, she was going to also assume the role of the agent for the property because she had a real estate license prior, and we weren't going to use a broker. She had another lady that was going to do it for a flat rate of like $2,000, like assist to sell. And instead, after I signed off on the property, she went and got a broker and an agent. So she upped the fees. Another
And
6 or
just
7
a second.
I don't know.
Just a second.
Yes.
Just a second. You're making excuses, sir.
Okay.
You're making excuses.
Okay.
Barladocious says her former boyfriend, David Murphy, is responsible for paying back a loan. David says he owes her nothing after she breached a contract between them.
Now, you're making excuses because you had somebody who clearly was very, very fond of you, clearly was emotionally involved with you. And I mean, certainly based upon your answer, she didn't take the breakup of your relationship well. However, what you said to me a moment ago, and I'm going to have Whitney read it back just so that we get exactly what you said. I want you to get to the part for me, Whitney, where he said, oh yeah, I took the $6,200 and I definitely said it was a loan, and I definitely said whatever, but I had no intention of paying it back.
He said, I never intended to pay it back because she lied about the sale of the price of the house. I have it here, what it really sold here. She lied about it and withheld funds she was supposed to give me, but she never did. And he says he never intended to pay it back.
Okay. Mr. Murphy, you owe her $6,200. You can't lie to someone. You could have sued her on a contract and said, this was our agreement. You sold it for more. A judge would have gone through that paperwork and said, well, you do owe him an additional $2,000 or $2,200 or whatever. You elected, using the fact that the woman had strong feelings for you, even after you sort of screwed her over on a house flipping deal. She still came back, and it was an easy patsy. You owe her $6,200. Not good moral character. I just have one comment to you, because this is just from one gal to another. Don't be foolish. You've done a couple of foolish things, right? This is your daughter. You would tell her not to do foolish things. Not worth it. Unless he's got something that I'm really not seeing. He's not worth it. You seem like a responsible lady, and he seems like a bit of a cad. So better without him. We're done here. Thank you.
Court adjourned.
I took him his 30-pack. He said, I don't want that. That's not the kind I want.
This woman has gone by my house throwing beer cans on my lawn. She's come to my house on hours of the night.
So I put it on his lawn.
Every time that I started a new relationship, we were not together, and she demolished every single one.
I absolutely did.
Through fake messages on social media or whatever. She disrupted every message, every relationship I tried to get involved in.
To washing her hands, no more contact. Absolutely.
I'm so done with this. I've known her for 35 years, and the last 4 have been the worst.
I'm thrilled. It's what it needed to be. And Judge Judy is amazing.
I absolutely understand your judgment in that last case, but what were some of the other foolish things you were speaking of with the plaintiff?
After they broke up, and because she found out that he was seeing other women, she said for a long time, she didn't get over it well. And she didn't behave as the woman that you saw here and the responsible lady that she was. So if there's anything that case teaches you, it's at a certain stage, leopard doesn't change its spots. If a guy's a bad guy, he's a bad guy. If a woman is a bad woman, she's a bad woman. And, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Case number 1024, Dyer versus Cooper. All parties, please step forward.
Destiny Dyer is suing her former friend, Jessica Cooper, for her share of vacation costs.
Miss Dyer, am I correct that this used to be your boyfriend?
In high school, yes.
In high school?
And briefly after.
And how long have you known Miss Cooper?
I have known her since 2016.
And that's when you became friends?
Mm-hmm.
And was it after that you met, this is your fiancé?
It's my fiancé, yes, ma'am.
When did the two of you meet?
2015.
So it was just serendipitous that you started to date, but you've known her since before.
No, I know her after. He introduced me to her.
How did that come about?
Because they were talking behind my back.
What does that mean?
Because they were still friends. They were talking behind my back.
They were still friends but not dating? You're getting upset. Don't get upset. You'll find out that very few guys are worth it. See, the problem is, Miss Cooper, if you still feel that way, you shouldn't have planned a vacation with her, because that's what this case is about. Kevin, be a prince.
Sorry.
Now, Miss Dyer claims that the two of you made plans to go to Disneyland, and it is Miss Dyer's claim that you owe her money for that trip. The trip was within the last year.
Yes, ma'am.
And based on your reaction to this whole thing, I think that that's still a raw subject for you. So probably a bad idea to plan a vacation together. Who was going on this vacation, Miss Dyer?
Myself, my son.
How old is your son?
My son is 9. Jessica, her fiance, Dustin.
He was going too?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, big a mistake. Yeah?
And her 2 children.
How many days were you going for?
5.
You had a room?
We had a room. We had a preferred room.
You all stayed together?
All of us.
So you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in one room. And you did everything sort of together. Is that a fair statement? Now, there's no question, neither one of you alleges that this trip was supposed to be a gift or a freebie or anything else. I want you to show me proof of what you paid for.
She paid for everything, and I paid her back through Venmo twice, and then I paid all of those things.
Well, all of these things are small expenditures that are ordinary expenditures for $35, $115. How much money can you show me that you paid on Venmo?
It's right there.
You paid Destiny Dyer $1,379.31. Okay.
And then there's another one.
So you acknowledge that she paid you $1,379.31.
She did. She paid me that.
And $600.
I never got a Venmo for $600.
On February 20th, 2021.
I never received that.
She says she never got it.
And I have statements to prove that.
I'd like to see your statement for February 2021. Then you should check with your account.
I don't have it with me because I closed that account, but I definitely did pay it. Both of those came out of the PNC account.
She acknowledges she received $1,379.31, and she's going to show me her Venmo account that allegedly will not show a $600 withdrawal to you. Because if it's not on her statement, then you take it up with Venmo. Never went through.
So here
Got it?
are my Venmo statements.
Okay.
Destiny Dyer says her former friend, Jessica Cooper, will not pay for costs resulting from their vacation together.
She acknowledged that she received $1,379.31, and she's going to show me her Venmo account that allegedly will not show a $600 withdrawal to you. Because if it's not on her statement, then you take it up with Venmo. Never went through.
So here
Got it?
are my Venmo statements.
Okay. Okay, all it shows is $1,379. So I suggest you take that up with them.
She could have just not printed that off.
It's possible, but you could have brought proof that it was on your statement from Venmo. You get a statement, I assume, every month.
I do, but I closed my PNC account.
That doesn't, well, you knew you were coming to court today. This is not a beach party, so you bring that statement to court, because I assume this is not the first time that she told you she didn't get that $600.
Oh, she told me that, but...
Okay, well, she told you that, so she told you she didn't get the $600.
She was very rude about it, too.
She told you she didn't get the $600. What I'm saying to you, that's a bone of contention. So it would seem to me that if you knew you were coming to court today, that's a document that you would have brought me, that here is my Venmo account. It shows that the money was transferred. I contacted them because she says she never received it, right? And this is the communication. Not that she was rude to you, it was because you were upset. Anyway, that's $600. So did the $600 make you even?
No.
Okay. Let me put it to you a different way. If you had gotten the $600, would you be in court today?
Yes, because that's still not the full amount that is owed.
Okay.
Your Honor, she also thinks that she didn't have to pay for the car rental, too, because I'm the one who got it.
Just a second.
Okay.
Is part of the money that you claim that she owes you have to do with the fact that she rented a car that you say you're not responsible for your half of? Is that part of this problem?
No.
Did you deduct half of the car?
I deducted what my total comes out to.
No, answer my question. Did you deduct half of the car payment?
I did not pay her. I took that off of what I was asking her to pay me.
Okay, what were you asking her to pay you? What's the total?
$1,500 is all that I asked for her to pay me.
Okay,
It's like been
and
four
you
different
deduct
amounts
just a second.
now.
So now we acknowledge that the $600 you didn't receive, so now she owes you the difference in that, $900. You get the $6. The $6 she actually owes you. So now you have to show me $900.
Absolutely. Okay. So I have receipts.
Not receipts. She has plenty of receipts too.
Okay.
You have to tell me where that money comes from. There was hotel, rental car, and park tickets. That's what we're talking about here. And airfare. How much was the hotel?
So the hotel, including the deposit, was $1,514.82.
$1,514. That's the hotel. Did you each pay your own airfare?
No.
Who paid for the airfare?
She did.
Okay, the airfare was what?
The total or their portion?
No, their portion.
Their portion was $295.50.
$295?
$295 for the airfare, and the baggage fee was $50 because I did get a credit back.
Sweetie, we had military.
Yeah, just a second.
We're not paying for your baggage.
I don't want you to talk to her.
She spoke to me first.
Now, the park tickets.
She paid the park tickets.
Okay, how much did she pay for the park tickets?
That's the Venmo that I received, the one that I did receive before we left.
Rental car, your half. What was her half of the rental car?
That would be $225, half of $450.
And how much were the park tickets?
I never seen a receipt for park tickets, but I just, took what she said.
Okay, how much were the park tickets?
Their portion of the park tickets, which she Venmo'd me for. I think you have my Venmo.
So that was just for the park tickets?
That was just the park tickets.
Park tickets. Okay, that was $1,379.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she paid for the park tickets herself. Her airfare was $295. Half of the car was $225. My numbers come up to $1,277.
Okay, that's without any of the dining expenses.
I'm not talking about any dining expenses. That comes up to $1,277.
But that's how I paid her back, Judge.
What?
That's how I paid her back. We would go to dinners even before Disney, and I would pay for her and her son. We took some dinners.
I told you I'm not dealing with that.
I understand that, but that's how I paid her back.
But I told you I'm not dealing with that. So I'm deducting the $600 that you're going to take up with Venmo because she didn't receive it, which still leaves a balance that you owe her of $677. That's what you owe her, period, for you and your family, which actually means that you and your fiancé and 2 children went away for 4 or 5 days, including park tickets at Disney, for actually $2,500, $2,600. That's not bad. All right, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $677. We're done here. Thank you.
Court adjourned.
Thank you.
I presume that they had a falling out as a friendship, which they did, and that's kind of how all this sprung about.
The saddest part is losing a best friend.
We did communicate that we would pay certain things as like we would take her and her son out to dinner.
I never thought in all the time, all the trips we've taken, that she would do this.
I think that she knew she could get money out of the situation.
It's just the money.
Well, it's obviously a very emotional thrived friendship, so maybe they shouldn't be friends anymore.
Clearly, I valued the friendship much more than she ever did.
If there's any takeaway from that case, it's a social takeaway rather than a legal takeaway, because the rest was math. It's a very bad idea to go away on vacation and stay in the same room with an ex anything. Just the whole thing sounds very unholy to me and is rife with potential difficulty. Don't do it.
Previously on Judy Justice.
Miss Andrews like to showboat and show off and talk to people any kind of way, talk down to you, think that she's your boss. She likes to run everything, but she cannot run me. If I paid my money to go on the trip, I'm going to do exactly what I want to do. She's not going to tell me to do. She's not my leader.
Got it.
Shakina and Erica coming out snapping on me. Where's Tasha at? She better have my money. They just literally raising hell. So now I'm confused. Because like I said, we are like family. I'm like, I hope they ain't doing this over $26. Like, you cannot be serious. These two come into the room. I couldn't understand nothing she was saying. She was belligerent, drunk, yelling at me, foaming out the mouth, and she tried to fight me in the room.
So now I'm seeing that something not good happened in Florida.
And now, the conclusion. Erica Andrews and her cousin Shakina Hardrick are suing former friends Crystal Young and her daughters for assault, vandalism, and harassment.
Now, I got the fact from reading this that at some point this all became physical. And it became physical on the return, which was in the end of December. And that kept accelerating into January and into February until somebody moved. Who moved?
I moved.
You moved?
Yes.
And you had been living with your mom?
Yes.
Okay. Did you move specifically because of this drama?
Definitely.
Well, sometimes that's necessary, but you still are both there. Okay. Police were called.
Several times.
On what day were they called?
They were called December the 30th.
Any other day?
December the 30th, January the 2nd, January the 5th, excuse me. February the 6th, when me and her had a little incident inside the market. She called the cop.
No, the sewer owner called the cop. She assaulted me in the market.
July the 28th, when Miss Andrews had about 20 people in front of my door, and they threw mace inside my window, beer mace.
Okay. All I want to do is discuss the following. I want to discuss the hospitalization. Somebody went to the hospital at some point.
My daughters.
I want to discuss the vandalism that somebody saw to property.
Okay.
Okay? I want to talk about mobs of kids, and because that's going to accelerate this. So we're going to talk about the hospitalization. On what date did that occur with your girls?
On January the 2nd, when me and my sister and my friend, we were going out to a party for my birthday. My birthday was like in the next 30 minutes. We leaving out, we dressed. We about to get into the car. Next thing I know, one of the girls from our house, I believe it was her daughter, ran over there and hit me. That's when we all just started getting jumped. And it was only 3 of us. It was like 10, 12 girls out there that night.
But she wasn't there.
She was there. She was spraying mace. She was trying to hit us.
Okay. Now let's talk about spraying mace. Did you see the plaintiff with mace?
Yes. Yes.
And this was in front of whose house?
We live right next door, so it was both our houses.
Did you have mace that evening?
No, I did not have no mace. They had mace, bear spray. They sprayed me with bear spray. This was December the 30th. I don't know how they skipped that and went all the way to January.
Does anybody have a police report?
Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to see them. And I'd like to see a hospital admission.
Hospital.
And we have a video of December the 30th, too.
Okay, so this was on the 2nd of January, and this says the complainant, and that's Erica Andrews, reports that unknown person or persons broke window on her front door by throwing a bottle at it. And then this report is dated on January 6th. It says police responded to the above location for a report of vandalism. Upon arrival, police observed a broken rear windshield of a vehicle in front of the residence. The police attempted to make contact with the complainant, but family members said the complainant said she did not want to get out of bed and would just call the police tomorrow and file a report. I'm telling that's what it says.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Then again on the 6th, and the complainant was Erica Andrews. The offender was Anissa Thomas. That would be you. Complainant states that she has videos of the above offenders breaking the rear windshield. Prior to this, the offender damaged her front doorknob. Complainant advised to make a private criminal complaint, and you say you have a video.
Yes, I have several videos.
The video,
I do too.
The video on the 6th of January, where you say you have videos of the above offenders, which includes Anissa Thomas, Crystal Young, and Taisha Young breaking the rear windshield.
Well, I have videos of a mother telling Anissa not to hit my car as she's standing by my car with a dog chain.
I'd like to see it.
Sure. Okay, she could start from there. Those are from them at my front door. And the second one may show a little more.
Press it.
Get out the window and come outside here. Come on, my kids, bro. Come on, y'all. Somebody you want to say this ass for her. I ain't going to say this. No, you want to say.
You're Anissa?
Yes.
What were you doing out there at 2 o'clock in the morning?
I wasn't outside her house at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm not even sure what day you talking about either.
6th of January.
I was at the hospital January the 6th, and this is my hospital papers. I did not go to her house January 6th.
May I see the hospital records? On the 6th of January, the hospital reports that you had blunt trauma to your left eye, which is why you went to the hospital late that evening on the 6th.
Yes.
So blunt trauma to your eye, in layman's terms, is a black eye from something. How did you get that?
Andrews and her cousin Shakina Hardrick claimed their neighbors, Crystal Young and her daughters, vandalized their property. They also claimed the daughters, Anissa and Tashay, assaulted them.
On the 6th of January, the hospital reports that you had blunt trauma to your left eye. How did you get that?
When she got us jumped on January the 2nd, and on the January the 6th, I went to go purchase cameras for our house because she kept bringing people to our house to try to fight us and jump us.
Who was this?
Erica Andrews.
Her?
Yes.
On January 5th, she had all my car windows bust out.
How did you get the black eye? Who did it?
It was a number of
Shakina.
people.
Shakina was one of them.
I wasn't there.
Only one person hit you in the eye.
It was a bunch of girls outside her house. And throughout the whole ordeal of us getting jumped, the plaintiff's out there recording in her phone, beat them up, recording, taunting us, and the whole time. While we getting jumped.
She have a video of the girl that actually gave her the black eye that she was fighting.
Just because you was outside taunting.
Well,
Can
just a
I
second.
talk? I'm not talking to them. How the fight started on January 6th, where she got a black eye, is because she was taunting another young lady who my cousin has a video of them two fighting, talking about her child, telling them that she need to go take care of her kid and go be a mother in front of the police. And that's how that fight started. And she also tried to break this young lady's car window with a bottle. And the young lady got out the car and they proceeded to fight.
So I'd like to see the video. And this is a video of the 6th. Look at me. It was the video of the 6th or the 2nd. Did you get the black eye on the 2nd or the 6th?
The 2nd, around 11:33.
Actually, the hospital record indicates that the trauma occurred on January the 2nd, and she, uncross your arms, she appeared at the hospital on January the 6th and complained of an incident that had occurred, but she was getting blurry vision on the 6th. Do you understand? So does somebody have a video of the 2nd? Because according to what you said, the police were in fact called, and there was vandalism to both cars. And there were no actual witnesses to the vandalism.
On the 2nd, there was no fight. On the 2nd, they came to the door and they were trying to get us to come outside to fight. Nobody never fought on the 2nd. She got the black eye on the 6th. The only one that had a black eye prior to January 2nd was me, because I got a black eye initially the first fight because Anissa Thomas and Tasha Young assaulted me with a cane gun. I have a picture of it. I was the only one that had a black eye, and my cousin was the only one that went to the hospital because she went to the hospital too prior to that incident.
Okay. I would like to see the hospital record that you have, Miss Andrews, of when you went to the hospital.
Later and came back fighting.
Yeah, well, for the bear spray, I didn't say they were out there assault my children, but here go the, I just have the hospital record.
Sit!
I just have the hospital record.
Sit! Sit. Better. You see, I try to play nice. If I can't play nice, I play it any way you want to play it. You see this man over here?
Yes.
I have 12 of them.
Oh, it ain't me. It never was my
So
problem.
whatever this old lady can't do, he and his officialdom can take care of. So now I'm asking you to show me a video that you say you have.
Right, I have a video and a text that she sent to someone else, the name of that person that she's fighting on the video.
I just
here go the video.
want to see the video and the hospital record.
Yeah, because that's what it is. She don't hear the voices, even on the other ones.
Play that again for me, please. Who are those two people fighting in that video?
That's her and a young lady that they named in this text message.
Who's her?
Anissa.
Okay, now, what I want you to do is stand up. I don't know whether you've seen that video. You're going to take that over there and just play for her that video, and then I'm going to make a comment to you.
It's up. So yeah, that one right there.
Yes.
Okay. Anissa, who were you fighting with?
One of the girls from her house.
Okay. So I'm going to make this observation for you.
It's muted.
It may be muted. I saw the fighting. What you saw was fighting. You saw with two grown-up young women in a physical altercation. Now, I'm pretty senior. I've never had a physical altercation. As an adult, I'm sure that when I was little, maybe I pushed a friend. As a grown-up, and you're a grown-up, did you say you were 24 years old, 24 years old? I guarantee if I asked these two women on either side of me whether they ever had a physical altercation with someone past their single-digit years, they would say no. It should be embarrassing to you. Irrespective, listen, I read your hospital record. I read the fact that in your hospital record, you answered quite honestly that you do use alcohol, you do smoke marijuana. I don't know whether that contributed. I don't know what the other woman was involved in this fight, whether she does or did too. But I'm going to tell you that life is a journey. This is an attitude. Life is a journey. You can either have one that's productive or unproductive. This is unproductive nonsense. Perpetrated, it looks as if, on both of your properties, car windshields busted out, doors broken.
Sugar in tanks.
Can't control that.
Just leave the line.
You just a second. You can't control. You have to take a certain amount of responsibility for keeping your brood in check and creating a good example for them.
Yes.
Because your neighbors, I assume you both own your property, otherwise I assume.
No, Your
It's
Honor,
a low-income
we live
housing
in PA.
development. We don't own anything.
If what you tell me is that you're stuck with each other, are you leaning against the desk, Miss Attitude?
I don't have an attitude.
Okay, then this is where you are. You're not at a friendly get-together.
Being friends and neighbors for years, Erica Andrews and her cousin Shakina Hardrick have accused Crystal Young and her daughters of assaulting them and vandalizing their property.
Either you can live out the remainder of your time on this earth living next door to each other and having this animus, or you can get control of yourselves and agree to live quietly, not as friends, but not as enemies. There is no way to ferret this out, and I was actually going to fault the police for not taking some sort of a definitive action in any of these calls that were made to them. They came out and they said, well, there's nothing we can do. This was a fight. And then I listened to both of you, and the truth is, I think that there's enough blame to go around. I think that it's terrible to have a black eye. I think it could have caused serious damage. You went to the hospital for ingestion of bear spray.
Assault at the supermarket when I was shocked checking out with my children in the supermarket, Crystal Young.
Okay, I'd like to look at that medical report.
Yeah, the one with the bear spray.
Shut up!
Your Honor, I have video of what she truly did that night in my phone.
I'd like to see it.
I have a lot of.
Shh. No. I only want to see what I can see. I can see that's the only way I'm going to get through this case.
And that's.
They gave you aspirin, Tylenol.
My fractured finger. The bear
Tylenol. Just a second. They gave you Tylenol. I'm just trying to see what for. You had a hand contusion.
Mm-hmm.
From what?
That was for Crystal Young. Assault me into the market on February the 6th.
Well, how did you get the hand?
I guess defending myself when she.
Okay, so what you're saying was you had a hand injury from a fight.
Yes.
He punched me.
But
Can I see up? Now I'd like to see a video.
This one should return from the hospital.
That's December the 30th, though.
When you return from the hospital. That's Ms. Andrews.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
And the same night she broke out my house.
No. Listen.
I'm sorry.
You're a mom. You have what appears to be lovely, bright daughters. I assume you have grandchildren?
No.
You do?
Yes.
I assume that both of you want your children to grow up, be productive, happy people. Do you think that videos like the one that I just saw is going to make that? I don't know. I'm speechless. You don't have to like each other. You have to just get along. Take a deep breath and get along. Good catch. Good catch. I think that what my advice to you is because I think that you're both at fault, so I'm not dealing with these cases. I think that neither of you de-escalated the situation and both participated in escalating it, or at least not diffusing it. But I honestly believe, although I usually discourage it, I honestly believe that each of you should file for protective orders. And if you were smart, each of you would probably consent to the entry of a protective order for a period of 2 years. And then you would each know that if you or your children or your cousin violated that protective order, the consequence would be incarceration for violation of an order. I very rarely give that kind of advice, but I don't see any other way to discourage this kind of behavior other than to say to your children and your cousin, I don't want our families to be involved in this. I only want to see things moving forward to make us better people. If that can happen, go down to the criminal court and say, we want to file mutual orders of protection for our families, our relatives, our cousins, and our children. And we're going to consent, once they get to court, to the entries of orders of protection, so everyone will know what the parameters are of how we're going to live as neighbors next door. And if I were you, I would do it Monday morning. This case is over. Thank you.
Court is adjourned.
I'm just going to have to just go with it. I'm really not happy with the decision.
My kids is not involved in this stuff. This is the stuff that they done.
But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we've made it this far.
I'm a very good parent. I do not do that. If they're coming for my family, I have to protect my home.
Unable to communicate with one another. We lost the friendship.
The perfect solution for me is for them to move away from where I live at.
Just watch who you befriend.
They said they don't live there anymore, so that's glad to know that.
Restraining order, we're definitely getting that. That's already round 2.
There are certain constants, Sarah. I know that this sounds preachy, but there are 24 hours in a day. There are 60 minutes to an hour. There are 364, sometimes 5 days a year. And if you spend the majority of that time in negativity, there's no time to grow. And these people out there today, the girls and the mothers, were intelligent, articulate people who spend the majority of their time involved in hate.
Consumed in negativity.
Consumed in negativity. And it's so counterproductive. So I really believe that the only way is if there is an order of a judge of criminal jurisdiction in Philadelphia that lays out the parameters of what they can do and what they can't do. They can't go within 20 feet of each other. They can't go within 100 feet of each other's home. If they see somebody else at a store, they have to leave this. Lay out the parameters, because if you're going to behave like children, you have to be treated like children. Very sad that such smart people are wasting so much of that special 24 hours.
Annalisa Baseman is suing her ex-boyfriend, Michael Ash, and his wife, Deanna Robinson, for unpaid loans and the return of her property.
Court come to order.
Be seated, everyone, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 1085, Baseman versus Ash Robinson.
Ms. Baseman, your last name is?
Ash.
Mr. Ash is a former boyfriend of yours.
Correct.
Miss Robinson was his fiancée, then his ex-fiancé when he moved in with you, and is currently his current fiancé.
We got married 2 days ago, so we're
well,
husband and wife.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I don't know what the cause of action that you have is against Miss Robinson.
Because she put a stop to me contacting Mr. Ash to get my property back.
Just a second. She had an order preventing you from contacting him or her?
No, neither. She had written in text message that if I contact him or her family at all, she will take legal action.
Your case is dismissed against her.
Okay.
Have a seat. I couldn't figure out what your cause of action against her was because you don't have one. Mr. Ash, you and your now wife were engaged and living together when?
For 8 years. All that we were together. We got engaged. Then we had a falling apart for roughly 8 months. No, I was even misplaced from my house because of
Okay, it was your house.
Yes.
So your current wife had a restraining order against you.
Yes, ma'am.
And the restraining order put you out of your home.
Yes.
And while you were put out of your home, you reconnected with the plaintiff,
Yes, ma'am.
who you had known in the past,
Yes, ma'am.
and asked her if you could move in. She did let you move in. You stayed for a while and then developed a romantic relationship with each other. You hired a lawyer in order to get back into your house.
No, ma'am.
How did you get back into your house?
I had gotten legal advice of how to file the proper paperwork so I could represent myself.
Who did you get the advice from?
Chris, sitting next to her.
Plaintiff's witness.
Correct.
Did you get the advice from her because that's her profession? She is a paralegal of some sort?
No, ma'am.
Was the advice free?
No.
What did she charge you for it?
For the first initial to get back in my house, $250.
And in what month was that?
November of last year.
And then you had someone else file for a protective order against you.
Yes, ma'am.
And who was that?
Ex-girlfriend times 2 before Miss Robinson.
You are the unluckiest guy I know, Mr. Ash.
Yes, ma'am.
And did again you use the plaintiff's witness to help you with that situation?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was her fee for that?
$1,200.
And all of this transpired while you were living with the plaintiff?
No, ma'am. The $250 happened while I was staying in Duluth, Minnesota with
the
Miss
plaintiff.
Basements. The $1,200, I was back in my house at that time.
Were you back in your house and still connected to Miss Baseman?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you were still together with her.
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you get the $1,450 from? Did Miss Baseman give you that money?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I want you to tell, because that's part of what she's suing you for.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding her giving you that money.
She thought that me being legally bound by these people, that I shouldn't have to go through this, that she was going to help me get through this with paying for legal advice.
And what were you doing at the time?
Not working, ma'am.
How were you supporting yourself?
I am currently still unemployed.
How are you supporting yourself?
The basic system.
Well, tell me exactly what that is. I'd like to know what the basic system is for you. We've been here doing this for a couple of months. We've had so many stories about the basic system. I want to know what your basic system is.
I receive MFIB from the state of Minnesota.
What is that?
Parent and child. They give you so much cash, food support, medical. I also receive child support for my son.
Okay. So you have one child. When you lived with Miss Baseman, did you take your son with you?
No, ma'am.
Where did he stay?
Same town, across town with his aunt.
Were you still getting money for him when he was living with his aunt?
Yes, ma'am.
How much?
$300 a month.
And how much were you getting personally for yourself?
In child support, none. I don't receive any.
Not child support. I'm talking about any other. You're not supporting yourself on $300 a month, sir.
No.
So what other monies do you get? From any source?
MFIB.
Well, tell me how much you get.
MFIB varies from $150, maybe $250, depending on how much child support came in that month.
$150 or $250 a what? A week, a month?
Month.
A month. When was the last time you were employed?
5 years ago.
What kind of work did you do 5 years ago?
I was a courier driver.
And what stopped that?
Too many accidents, workman comp cases, and eventually my employer got tired and said, we're 2 open cases, and dismissed me.
And that was 5 years ago?
Yes.
Well, how have you been supporting yourself for the last 5 years? I'm not going to ask you. I'm going to ask the plaintiff. How does he support himself? He has his own home because it was his home that he was put out of. So I assume you own that home.
No, ma'am.
No. You rent it?
Yes.
How much is your rent?
Subsidized renting, $60 a month.
Describe the house for me.
It is a 2-bedroom townhome.
2-bedroom, 2-bath?
2-bedroom, 1-bath.
For which you pay $60 a month.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you applied for any other type of federal assistance?
I've been attempting to try to get Social Security, which has been just a dead end.
Because they ask you what your disability is.
Annalisa Baseman claims her ex-boyfriend, Michael Ash, is responsible for unpaid loans and returning her belongings.
Okay. Mr. Ash says part of your lawsuit is for this $1,450 that you paid to your witness. There's no issue that you paid that money to the witness because he says that you paid that money to the witness and you received it from her.
Yes, I did.
When did you pay her the money for his 2 domestic violence cases?
It was January 11th, and then the rest was paid
2021?
Yes, and then the rest was paid to you in April.
Now, you had moved a lot of your stuff, according to your complaint, after he stayed with you for a while, and he was successful in regaining his house. She got out of his townhome. You took an apartment for you to have together.
No, ma'am. I have my own house that I pay for on a monthly basis. Okay, he came and stayed with me.
Well, that I understand.
For 2 weeks. Then we went back to his townhome where we were spending the weekends.
Spending just the weekends?
Just the
weekends. But he was staying there?
Yes,
he was staying there. You came and just spent weekends?
Yes.
Well, was that between January and April of 2021?
Yes. And it continued on up until June.
Annalisa Baseman claims her ex-boyfriend, Michael Ash, is responsible for unpaid loans and returning her belongings.
Okay. Mr. Ash says part of your lawsuit is for this $1,450 that you paid to your witness. There's no issue that you paid that money to the witness because he says that you paid that money to the witness and you received it from her.
Yes, I did.
When did you pay her the money for his 2 domestic violence cases?
It was January 11th, and then the rest was paid
2021?
Yes, and then the rest was paid to you in April.
Now, you had moved a lot of your stuff, according to your complaint, after he stayed with you for a while, and he was successful in regaining his house. She got out of his townhome. You took an apartment for you to have together.
No, ma'am. I have my own house that I pay for on a monthly basis. Okay, he came and stayed with me.
Well, that I understand.
For 2 weeks. Then we went back to his townhome where we were spending the weekends.
Spending just the weekends?
Just the weekends.
But he was staying there?
Yes,
he was staying there. You came and just spent weekends?
Yes.
Well, was that between January and April of 2021?
Yes. And it continued on up until June.
What happened in June?
June 5th was when the relationship started to fall apart. And at that point, I had
What gave you a clue?
The fact that Deanna Dawn Robinson was over there every day, even though she had a harassment order against him.
Just a second. So she was at the townhome.
Yes.
How did you find that out?
He told me one night when we hadn't done very much talking, he said Deanna and I were up drinking till 3 o'clock in the morning.
You mean when you were home in your house?
Yes.
So that gave you your first clue?
Yes.
Okay. What had you brought over to his townhome?
I had brought over makeup, clothing, movies. He lives about 20 minutes from me. He lives in a different city. So I brought over food supplies because I try to do keto, everything.
You understand that this is a very expensive place to run a court system.
Yeah.
So we're not interested in the food supplies you brought over, even your makeup that you brought over. Now, you ultimately found out that they were back together again, or at least you had a suspicion, and owing to the fact that they got married 2 days ago, I would suggest to you that your intuitions were very good. Tell me the circumstances surrounding you paying these 2 bills for him.
First of all, Chris would not do any more work for us until she got the $250 from before.
Okay.
She was his legal researcher more than anything.
Okay.
Okay.
He acknowledges that.
Yeah.
The only question is, were you paying this because you were a couple and you were helping him out? Or was there a contract between you that this was a loan?
There was a verbal contract.
Well, that's what you're going to tell me, and that's what I'm going to try to figure out. his explanation so far, whether I like it or not, is plausible. That you were in a relationship with each other, there was another woman involved, you wanted him to be free from any of those stressors from this other woman and from two previous to her who also had some sort of case against him. You don't look like that kind of guy, Mr. Ash, but looks can be deceptive. And that you, as part of a couple, paid this bill for him. You're going to tell me that there was a loan with an expectation of being repaid. So let me have it.
There was a loan.
Well, that's a conclusion.
Yes.
I want you to tell me the circumstances surrounding you paying Chris.
I paid Chris because he was in such a state of worrying and mental anguish over the different people who had harassment orders against him. He didn't know what to do. He was beside himself. So therefore, I paid her the $250 with the acknowledgement that after...
Not acknowledgement. So you were concerned about him, you paid the $250. I'm still waiting.
Well, the thing is, if anything, why would I pay her the $1,200 after she was done with the cases?
I have to ask you this question. You paid her the $250.
Yes.
He never paid you a penny towards the $250.
You are correct.
Right. And so after he never paid you a penny from the $250, because he's somebody that lives in a townhouse for which he pays $60 a month, who doesn't work.
Who was going to get a job through his friend, making $35 an hour.
Right. He hadn't worked in 5 years. So based on history, both his history of not working for 5 years and your history with him together, for the months that you lived together, he never worked.
I was never aware that he never worked. He had told me that he owned his own auto shop and that he was working every day. M&M Automotive, which is owned by he and his father.
M&M Automotive. Where is it located?
It's located in Esko, Minnesota. ESKO.
While she's looking for it, Mr. Ash, does your father own a mechanic shop?
No.
Did you?
Once upon a time.
When?
I haven't. That business has not been open in 6 years. There was an attempt to make the business come open, then COVID-19 hit and it never reopened.
19 didn't hit this country until January of 2020.
I was going to attempt to actually open it up. Never happened.
Well, where were you going to open it?
On my father's property where it was originally located.
Okay, now I got it. When you say you were going to try to open it again, Mr. Ash, the property still exists.
Yes, ma'am.
The shop still exists.
Yes, ma'am. It's in my father's name. It's his property.
I don't care in whose name the property exists. Where are your siblings?
My sister lives in Texas.
So you're the only one who lives in this area.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it.
Eliza Baseman has accused her ex-boyfriend, Michael Ash, of refusing to pay back loans. She is also suing for the return of her belongings.
Okay. The only other thing that you have, other than this $1,450, if you can't find it.
Yeah, it's a little sketchy on the internet.
It'll come up on Google Maps.
Mm-hmm. I have an address, but no owner.
No owner, but you have an address. Mm-hmm. What does it say, Sarah, as far as what it does?
Automotive and restorations.
But it does list it as a current business?
That I can't
tell you.
There hasn't been anything recent posted from what I can tell. The last post I see was October 20th of 2018.
And what kind of post was that?
On their Facebook page.
There's a review on Google for them.
Oh, really?
And there's a phone number listed as well.
Really? Yes, ma'am. Would you stand up?
Whether or not it's an official business, Your Honor, is not the point. Because it is a de facto business.
Sit down.
There's a review on...
Sit.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
There's a current phone number?
Listed on the Facebook page as well as, I believe, the Yelp page.
Really? Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Would you like it?
No, I don't need it, actually. Is this total public housing where you're living?
Yes.
So the last time you had a job, according to you, was 5 years ago, working as a driver. You had too many accidents.
Yes, ma'am.
But the last time, at least, there's a current phone number for this mechanics shop that belongs to your father, who's allegedly not there, I assume.
He lives on the property.
Mm-hmm. But that's a current phone number for the shop.
No, ma'am. That number is disconnected.
As of when?
A year and a half,
What happened a year and a half ago?
when that number went offline.
What happened a year and a half ago?
That's when everything was totally gave up on.
Uh-huh. What property of hers do you still have at your house?
Her patio set, which is on the outside.
Okay. You want that back?
Yes, please.
Okay, you can go pick it up within 5 days.
Okay.
What else? You mentioned the patio set. He mentioned the patio set. What else is there?
And there is a lot of DVDs that I own. There are 4 special books her fiance gave to me that were handwritten in, that he created, that Mr. Ash has, because I was reading them over at his house. Also, too,
Just a second. Mr. Ash, do you know what 4 books she's talking about?
Yes, ma'am. The 4 that she left behind because she had wanted nothing to do with Chris and her fiance.
I don't care. You know which 4 books she's talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
She's going to pick those up with the patio set. What else?
Also, he has the original paperwork on my second house.
Where did you leave it?
It was in his truck.
Have you looked in your truck?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have the paperwork?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so she's going to pick up the paperwork, the 4 books, and the patio furniture within 5 days. You can take a marshal if you believe you need it, or send
I will
someone.
have to, because he called the police on me the last time when I was over there.
Okay, so we'll give you an order, and you can take it with a police officer for a standby and pick up your property.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, he's not giving you back the $250 because I heard nothing about a loan. Now we're going to hear about the $1,200, which came later. Let me hear about the $1,200, which came after he didn't pay you anything for the $250.
The $1,200 was supposed to be a loan because we were moving into a new place together. And with that fact being said, I had paid off his bad debts in order to raise
Which bad debt? I thought it was for her.
No.
What?
No.
What did you pay off of his?
I paid off 2 different things, and I do have the evidence here that I'm looking them up, Your Honor. One is a check for IC Systems. I paid off $1,124.90.
What is that? What is that, sir?
It's an old debt that he has.
What is that?
It's a collection company that's being reported on my credit report.
So it's probably been there for a long time.
Yes, ma'am.
So what's the reason that you wanted that cleared?
I did not want it cleared. She insisted that I have a clean record to be moving into this new house with her.
To a new house?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's what I thought. I thought I read something about a new place. What new place were you moving into?
She was purchasing a trailer home in the